Did you know that statistics and data analysis drive almost every major decision today? From understanding trends to creating impactful visualizations, the right tools and techniques can transform raw data into meaningful insights. And guess what? You don't need complex tools to get started. Excel is one of the most powerful tools for statistical analysis, and it's right at your fingertips. We will walk you through the essential statistical techniques, show you how to visualize data effectively, and share tips to make your workflow smoother and smarter. Let's jump in and start transforming data into insights.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is it that first comes into your mind whenever you think about statistics, right? Whenever someone says stats, whenever someone says statistics, I'm sure that you'll have a first train of thought wherein it has to do something with respect to numbers, measuring numbers, understanding the behavior of numbers and all of that, right? Yes, it is considered as a major part of mathematics, but with respect to statistics, we will be discussing and diving right into data. We're going to be diving right into the metrics, which will give you a lot of clarity about how you can use the data points, right? I'll give you a very short example. In fact, we'll actually discuss two examples to give you an idea about statistics. The first story, right? Let's just consider a small story right now. There is a new TV show which is trending, maybe on Amazon Prime, maybe on Netflix. So, of course, if something is trending and it is super popular, you already know this for a fact that the social medias are going to blow up, right? The first is Twitter, the next is probably Facebook, and then everyone on Instagram are going to start talking about it. People in WhatsApp groups are going to start talking about, hey, this is a brand new TV show that came out. I liked this about it. I did not like it. Some say it's just a hype. It's nothing great, right? So there are so many mixed opinions that you might get whenever there's something new, something trending. So what will you do in this particular situation? If it's a case where a new TV show came out, people are raving about it, and now you want to do some sort of analysis. You want to weigh to understand why people are probably rating it very low, or the contrary, why people are rating something very high, right? Of course, you're going to do this. Now, how I do it. If there's a new TV show or if there is a new movie that has come out, the first thing I'll do is I'll probably head to Google. I'll take a look at the various cast members that are out there. I'm going to take a look at the storyline. I'm going to also take a look at genre, of course, right? Now, I love watching documentaries. I love watching comedy movies, comedy TV shows and all of that. So I have a preference, right? I want to see if this new TV show aligns to my requirement. So what do? We go to Google, we take a look at the reviews, and what do? We see the ratings of it, right? Now, what do you mean by seeing ratings? Ratings are just numbers on a certain scale, which will give you some sort of clarity about the concept itself, right? Now, if your TV show is talking all about stand-up comedy, let's just say, and you have someone saying, hey, I rate this 4 out of 5. Now, the advantage here is that your rating, as in you can understand on a scale of 0 to 5, maybe that 0 being the worst and 5 being the best, that this TV show is doing great. So you have a mathematical number there describing the data and giving you a hint at what the outcome might be. Now, if that TV show is rated at 1, what I would usually do is I would probably take a second guess to say, you know what, let's probably check this out sometime later. If it is 4.5 out of 5, or if you go to IMDb scale, it's 0 to 10. So if there's a movie or a TV show that's rated somewhere above 7 or 8, I'll be very interested to watch that, because I know for a fact that a lot of people might have liked it, right? So you're realizing what we are trying to do here. This is a key concept in statistics that we have been using all of our lives, right? So it's not just this. Whenever you're trying to assess and analyze maybe the current tax rate, you're trying to analyze what the level of inflation is, what the growth of the what your country's GDP is and all of that. When you say statistics, all you're trying to do is have concrete proof of data, and through numbers you can say, hey, this is the reason why this is happening. So you can provide a logical reasoning using numbers. Coming back to the TV show case, that's what you're going to do, right? You're going to talk, or you're going to look at ratings, you're going to talk to a lot of colleagues and friends, and you might even read reviews that other people have written, or you might watch videos where people are reacting to the movie, people are reacting to the TV show as well, right? Now, all of those things are data points that's going to help you come to a decision saying, hey, do I want to watch this or do I not watch this? You realize that that logical decision at the end of the day is driven by metrics, numbers that you can track, assess, and verify. That, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day is everything that statistics is about. It is not us just going to perform some probability operations. It is not just us trying to understand how we can just solve a numerical or solve a problem mathematically. No. Of course, all of that is the process to eventually get to the result. The goal of statistics is to make sure you can have certain data points at hand, have trackable metrics for the same, and eventually work on your data to bring in some good insights, right? This is, we use this in multiple walks of our lives. We might do it every day on social media as well. It's just that we might not be familiar with the concept to a point where we would understand, hey, so this is what we're doing. But now that you have a certain idea about one example, can you think about 2 or 3 other examples where there are numbers which are guiding a logical decision? Well, let me actually give you one example as such. Just before we take a look at another example, this is exactly what I was saying, right? So you're making an assessment based on a number, maybe as a rating, maybe as the number of viewers, which eventually will help you decide a lot of things regarding the popularity of the show, the reviews, what people have to say. Is it something that is favoring to your favorite genre or not? Now, you might be a person who loves watching action movies. If this is a comedy TV show, there's a good chance even if it has good ratings, you might not watch it. But that is not a statistical decision. That is a logical decision you make. But if it is your favorite genre, you see the numbers help you make a decision. That is statistics. Right now, TV shows are one beautiful example to think about. Let me give you one more example, right? So, I am a huge fan of motorsports. I understand that here in India, a lot of people are cricket fans. We have a lot of football fans, hockey fans. There are a lot of sports that we play here in the country, right? So whenever you think about it, in my case at least, I am stuck to my screen with respect to motorsports. I absolutely love a sport such as Formula 1. And if you are a person who watches a sport such as Formula 1, or maybe the concept of even MotoGP, NASCAR, and all of these car racing, bike racing stuff, right? You have to realize one thing. As a person who's uninitiated into this domain, into the domain of watching motorsports, you might think that, hey, so if there is a race that is going on, it is just the driver who drives the fastest who will win the race. Yes, to one extent, you're correct. The driver who probably drives the quickest around the circuit multiple times, we call it laps, right? He or she will be awarded to be the best driver and, first place, second place, third place, all of that. But what you should be also analyzing is that, especially in the case of Formula 1, it is never just the driver who's responsible for winning the race. There is something called as strategy, and there is a pit crew that is sitting and assessing and analyzing every single move that you as a team make and what the opponent or what the competitors are doing as well, right? There's so many, fancy terms, overcutting, undercutting, and all of these. I am very sure if you watch the sport, you might get to know that. But my point here is that it's never a one-man race. It's always a team effort. So if the driver is driving the car, what is the team doing then? Again, the team are assessing many things. For example, at which part of the circuit is, maybe one driver can be super fast there. The other one might be very slow there. So if you analyze and assess a million details such as this, you will have a complete picture and you can have a prediction even before your race starts, saying, hey, if this driver can drive at this particular pace, our team can be fit in all these places, right? So if you watched interviews before for a Formula 1 race, the team bosses or the drivers, when they're interviewed, they say, hey, realistically, we are trying to go for the second position. Realistically, we are trying to go for the third position. Not everyone on the grid will say, hey, we are going for the win, because of course it might not be possible in an extremely competitive sport. effort, right? The point here for you to understand is that it is not just one or two numbers that will guide the entire race, the win or the championship, but there will be teams sitting at the circuit, there will be a huge team sitting at a fully occupied factory who are all data analysts or just continuously churning the numbers to find out what are some of the possible outcomes that can come out of this race. Maybe the driver can win, maybe the driver can come third, maybe if there is a crash, then it can have a big dent in the world championship as well, right? All of these things are when we speak about it, it just seems like logical decisions that you would take, yes or no, 1 or 0, but not really. Whenever you perform any calculations, do you understand that all you're trying to do is applying mathematics using certain data to provide meaning to the operation that you just did, and using that final result to have some decisions driven and maybe some key insights also driven? Don't you think that's happening? Yes, it is not just Formula One. It is not just you watching a favorite TV show. Think about how all the companies around the world operate as well. Whenever they want to track efficiency, whenever they want to see what time it takes to deliver a product, whenever they want to understand what is the best way that they can even try to solve a problem, there are numerous cases, and I personally want to say it's always a case wherein you can have a statistical concept there to help ease your understanding and load of working with a lot of data and give you meaningful results at the same time. That is really the beauty of statistics, right? So a coordinated effort of analysts, mathematicians, statisticians, and of course the racing drivers themselves in this example is basically what is leading to victories. So just like this, there are numerous cases that I am sure that you guys can think about which will have similar understanding on the whole as well, right? A very popular place where statistics is usually used is in the concept of predicting something that might happen in the future. Now, the technology we have today, especially in the world of data science, especially in the world of artificial intelligence, is that it is so conveniently implemented in our lives. We don't even find technology to be as amusing as probably it once was. I'll give you an example. Whenever you want to predict something, you will have to use mathematical numbers to go on to do that, right? Astronomy, astrology, all these concepts in fact also use a lot of mathematics and statistics there. If you want to predict what planet is going to move to which position, again they do that, right? It's all the same. It's again statistics. If you want to predict probably what will happen in a race, or if you want to predict the outcome such as maybe tomorrow's weather, again you're going to require a lot of data to be analyzed, assessed, and say, hey, if this is the amount of data that we can see and if this is the numerical result of it, maybe it will rain. Or if the cloud cover is not 100% but it's 0%, it's going to be a bright blue sky, correct? You see how you can use numbers to your favor, be it in any logical situation which requires guidance or addition of meaning, which will help not just us understand a concept but also get our machines to understand. Now if I say, hey, how is the weather like to my computer, in its most fundamental level it can only understand zeros and ones, but it has to churn through all of this data, figure something out, and eventually give you a working result. All of this should happen at the snap of your finger. Do this experiment right now. Go to Google or probably open up Siri if you guys use iPhones and just say, hey Siri or hey Google, what is the weather like tomorrow? By the time you even stop saying it, it would have given you an answer, right? So that is the magic, that is the power of statistics. So if we have been talking all this time about statistics and knowing that we have been a part of statistics, we've been using it in our daily lives every single day. So technically, what is statistics? Let me first talk to you about the definition of statistics. See, statistics is a very structured way of how you can collect data, how you can analyze this data and eventually use it to perform some predictions. Now, in all the cases, it doesn't have to be a situation where you're trying to predict something. Maybe you're just trying to describe what the data means in detail, right? Just like I gave you the race example, just like I gave you the TV show example. example. If a movie has an IMDb of 8 out of 10, you might think that, oh, this movie is going to remain popular for the next 3 years. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe you're not trying to perform a prediction. Maybe you're just trying to say, hey, why are people liking it so much at this moment of time? Can't you answer that question? Well, yes, right? So be it predictions or be it describing your data numerically, if you want to find a structured way to go about doing this, the method, the concept, the domain of statistics is what you guys should be looking after, right? So we understand where we've used it, we understand what statistics is, but with the same moment of time, you guys will also be curious to understand what are these various types of data that we can go on to come across when working with statistics, right? Of course, data consists of raw information, right? Now, when you say information, it must be useful, but when I say data, it doesn't have to be useful, right? It can consist of things which may or may not help me. Now, in this particular case, data happens to be of multiple types, and when you're a person who's looking forward to applying the concepts of statistics there, you must understand that there are different statistical concepts involved in handling different types of data, right? But to get to that point, you need to understand, okay, so what are these various types of data that we have? On your screen, you'll find two commonly used types of data that we have. One is categorical data, the other one is numerical data. Now, from the example that you see on your screen, can you quickly take a second to actually guess what categorical data is and guess what numerical data is? Because let me tell you, it is very straightforward. Categorical data, when you say categorize something, you're trying to align it in a textual format, and categorical data is mostly textual data as well, right? In fact, in categorical data, there are three types of data: ordered data, nominal data, and binary data. When I say ordered data, think about ranking: first rank, second rank, third rank. Think about the priority of maybe a job. Maybe you guys are in your college or in your job right now, in your career right now. When someone says, hey, this is priority number 1, this is priority number 2, this is priority number 3, it will feel like, yes, even though it's a numerical metric that is attached to it, with respect to how categorical data itself is split out, you have an order to it, right? 1, 2, 3, first rank, second rank, third rank, priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, be it the driver winner 1, runner up 1, third place. All of these, right? You have numbers and you have an ordered way of even conveying textual data. That is ordered data. When we say nominal data, it's basically us talking about anything which is unordered, right? Let me give you a small example. If I try to measure height, right now, I'm sure everyone will have a small mark on their wall or something like that, wherein they would have tracked their height over the years. You will see that height it's not just increasing in one way. There might not be any order to it, right? If you're a person who works out very heavily, you'll realize that your body will actually expand and contract a lot. If you're measuring it on a daily basis, you'll realize that one day you're slightly half an inch taller. The next, you might have, maybe not for the day, but maybe for a week, you would have worked out with a lot of weights. That will slightly compress your height as well, right? So all of these things will vary, and there might not be any set order to say, hey, once you start growing, your height will go up and up and up until your last day here. Not really, right? So that can be considered as unordered data. There is one more type of data with respect to categorical type of data, which is binary data. Binary, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple. It's you splitting your data into two: yes or no, 0 or 1, true or false. Think about it. In how many situations in all of our lives we've come across this type of data, right? When someone asks you a question and says, hey, don't you think this is correct? There will be two answers you can give. Yes, it is correct. No, it is incorrect. So when someone asks you, hey, is this valid? Again, two answers. Yes, it is valid. No, it is invalid, right? So yes, no, whenever you have two choices to make, and whenever even you have a textual context or a textual reason through which your answers can only be in two forms, that is is basically binary data, right? Even in the real world, that's how true binary works as well. So I hope we're clear with categorical data. Now it becomes very difficult to measure categorical data at the end of the day because it is textual. Not all the examples you can discuss can be measured, right? But what we can talk about with respect to numerical data is actually something that you can measure, something you can assess with respect to mathematics and statistics. So if that is the case, what are some of these types of numerical data that we have? There are two types of numerical data which you guys might already know about. One, first of all, let's talk about continuous data. The second one, because this is the data we usually come in contact with every single day, right? So when you say continuous data, there will be a constant graph which you can track and plot to assess. For example, if you want to track the age of a person, they start at 0, basically their day 1 of birth. Next, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth. It will never go down. You never go from being age 5 to being age 4, right? It's only continuous. It is going only in one direction. Even the height of the person to a certain extent is considered as continuous, because you can have a continuous curve to plot it. You can have a very beautiful sine wave kind of a curve to actually plot something like that. But if you are talking about discrete data will not come with any sort of order that is built into it, or it is not something such as it's continuously moving, right? Think about the days in the calendar. Now you might say, hey, every month has 30 or 31 days, so there is a pattern in here, so why are we considering it as discrete instead of continuous? Very good question. Now what happens is that every month we start at date 1 and we probably go to 30th, or we probably go to 31st. What happens after that? Aren't we resetting it back to 1 and starting all over again every single month? So that kind of non-continuous ability, until day 1 to 30 or 31, it is continuously growing. But at 31, there is a cut and we're eventually trying to circle back to the same thing and do it again, right? This is a very good example for discrete data. Now, I've heard one more fantastic example, which is basically your mobile numbers, right? Whenever you have your mobile number, there is probably an order to it, which whoever is your provider is trying to maintain or something like that. But for you, in your context, in your reasoning, it's just a number that is associated with an identity or something, right? There's no continuous nature to it from your perspective. If your number starts something like 8884 or something like that, again, can you plot a curve for each of those numbers and make sense? Not really, right? That is discrete data, ladies and gentlemen. Now we understand what is data, what are the types of data, how we go on to even pick up data to perform some sort of statistical analysis. So what are the various types of statistical analysis that you can go on to perform, or what are some of these various types of statistical analysis that you can use to solve a variety of problems? Well, there are two very, very popular ways of going to perform, whenever you're going to perform statistical analysis, which is nothing but qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. Now, for the people who are familiar with the term qualitative, for the people who are familiar with the term quantitative, you can find out what it means just by the words itself. Quantitative talks something about quantity. Qualitative talk something about quality, right? Let's talk about the example that you see on your screen right now. With respect to quantitative, let's close quantitative first so you will understand qualitative better. Now, if I say, hey, how many pens or pencils or whatever it is that you can see on your screen right now, what would be your answer, right? So there are 16 pens and pencils here. That's a quantity. Now, if I say, hey, why don't you pick up 3 pencils out of 16 pencils? Right, and analyze maybe if those pencils are correct or wrong or something, or if they have any manufacturing defects. All of these situations, you can have hundreds of situations, but you're performing analysis on a numerical metric directly. That is quantitative analysis, where quantity, where you're driven by a number as an input itself. But what about qualitative analysis? Now, qualitative analysis also you can do with respect to statistics. Let me give you an example. Let's just say there are 4 colors of different ink pens that you see on your screen right now, and maybe 2 of these are extremely expensive and they write beautifully. We know that pens that people use to write to put in a signature can sometimes get really expensive. expensive, right? It's made of silver, it's made of gold, and all of these different reasons. So maybe some of these pens write really well. So when you say it writes really well, what are we doing? What are we assessing and making a conclusion on? We are saying that, hey, this pen maybe is very smooth to write, maybe the way it puts the ink down on the paper is very clean and you would like it. Correct? So you're assessing it based on quality. Now, quality, you might say, okay, so if we understand quality in terms of statistics, how can we put it in numbers? How did you put a TV show in terms of numbers? You had a rating to do it, where you had a range. In the range, you realize 0, it's very bad, 5 or 10 being amazing. Similarly, for qualitative analysis, even that example of TV shows is qualitative analysis. Here, what we are trying to do is we're trying to assess the same thing. If your pen is like very scratchy, it is tearing your pages, it is not depositing enough ink on your screen, you can say that, hey, the quality of this pen is bad. You've done this, and you can say, if someone asks you, okay, so how bad is the quality? You'll say, on a scale of 1 to 5, I find it to be a 1. Right now, you have a metric to track quality, and with respect to quantitative, you have a metric directly to analyze. So either ways, either situations, logically speaking, you can convert and bring all these concepts right down to the fundamental level of mathematics and statistics. And don't you think, with the details that you would have had at your hand at this moment of time, that if someone asks you which quality of pen should they buy, with your analysis here, don't you think you can give them a numerical answer? That is one very important thing you have to understand about the types of statistics that we have out there. Right? Now, we checked out with respect to qualitative and quantitative analysis, there are 2 more types. There are further divisions in the chart of types of statistical analysis, which is nothing but inferential statistics and nothing but descriptive statistics. Now, inferential statistics and descriptive statistics. As you know, the course is called descriptive statistics. So what are we trying to understand here? To understand descriptive statistics, you need to have a clear understanding of what inferential statistics is. Now, when you say inference, you're trying to infer something. What are you trying to do? You're trying to assess something, you're trying to assume something, or you're trying to infer something. Now, a simple example in inference is that, hey, right now in Bengaluru, that's where I'm from, it's actually very cloudy, it is super overcast right now, it's very dark in the afternoon, but I can infer something saying, if this is the case for the next 30 minutes, maybe it will rain. Or I can say, sure that I see the darkest clouds in the sky right now, it will rain. So you're making an inference even before the situation occurs, on the same lines of prediction, correct? That a concept around that is inferential statistics. Don't worry, we're going to take a look at it in detail. And then coming to descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics is when you're trying to describe something on the fundamental level. What are you trying to describe? With respect to how one can go on to either describe and digress a problem, or how you can go on to explain a solution, or how you're working with the data. If you can describe that, either be it in a numerical way or in a logical way, that is descriptive statistics. So let's have some more clarity on these concepts. Let's try to understand, how we can go on to work with inferential statistics, what is descriptive statistics, and how we can work with that as well. So, to perform inferential statistics, you must understand one thing. Whenever you're trying to infer something, you will usually prefer, again, a sample space or a sample set from an entire population. In real world, even in small examples, while you guys are learning, you would have given 10 elements and you would have asked to analyze 2. What is that again? Population and sample set, right? So, with respect to performing inferential statistics, I am not saying, hey, I can count 10 clouds in the sky. That is impossible. I can generalize and say there are a lot of clouds. And you might say, is this okay to say there is a lot of clouds when we are especially trying to infer something? It is okay. Even though it's not a direct metric, having a generalization will still get you to your answer, right? Give it a thought. That exactly is inferential statistics. So let me give you a small example to help you understand. Now, if I say, hey, there is a sale going on, there are 18 sedans for sale, 4 SUVs for sale, super utility vehicles, and there are 3 convertible cars that are for sale. Now, if I ask you a question saying, in all of these sedans, SUVs, and convertible cars that are for sale right now, which is the major type of car that is being sold? Can you not answer that? Can't you just look at the data there and say, hey, so there are 4 SUVs, 3 convertibles, but 18 sedans being sold. So the number of sedans are the ones which are being sold the highest, right? They are the highest number of cars being sold, basically. So you can come to a numerical decision for a logical problem based on categorical data having numerical tracking, right? Now, if you slowly rewind and listen to me one more time saying that, it will make complete sense to you all, but I'm sure it's a very simple example you can understand, right? Lot of cars, which type of car? You have a metric to answer, it's a direct pick and place. That when you're inferring something, when you're asking a question, which type of car sold the most, you're saying it's sedans. And when someone asks you, okay, how did you say that? Well, there's all the data in front of you to help you drive towards a decision. Every single step that we are just logically speaking out, or the logically I'm explaining to you, there are numbers involved everywhere, and eventually these numbers, exactly as I've been telling, is what is driving the eventual solution. Don't you think? That is inferential statistics. Now coming to descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics is exactly what all of us are after in this particular course. But one important thing for you to, if you just dive right into the concept of descriptive statistics, it becomes very difficult to assess and analyze later on. Because if you do not know what are the types of data, if you do not know that you have some real world connections to statistics that you have used, when you're working on real world data, it becomes super difficult for you to assess. Now, descriptive statistics is basically describing the data that we have at hand. Let us take this exact same example we discussed there. You have 18 sedans for sale, 4 SUVs for sale, and 3 convertible cars. Now, if I ask you a very specific question where your answer describes the entity in discussion, that is descriptive statistics, right? So if I say, hey, how many sedans that are being sold out of 18 are blue in color? So you'll maybe say, hey, there are 4 sedans that are blue in color that are being sold. You're describing not just a sedan, but the color of the sedan. And eventually you'll say, okay, out of these 4 blue colored sedans, out of the 18 sedans, there are 4 blue, and there are 5 sports models as well. Sportier versions, which maybe they go faster, or they accelerate quicker, they have better performance, something like that. So can you not describe the data that you have at hand, be it using numbers or be it using logic, in this situation as well? If it's a simple question of how many sedans, we answer it by making an inference. If I say, okay, so how many sedans of blue color, how many sedans which have 18-inch rims, something very specific, very detailed, which will have your answer to describe the entity in discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, that is descriptive statistics. Now we just took the entire complex world of descriptive statistics and understood it using a very simple example. Is descriptive statistics really this simple, or is it really this straightforward every single time? The answer is yes. The concept of how you apply statistics, the concept of how you describe something is going to remain the same. What becomes complex is the fact that you will have a lot of data that you have to use to get to this point. So it's never really as easy as looking at a crate, picking up 10 oranges from 100. What if you have 100 million oranges? What if you have the entire world's oranges in your farm right now, right? So when you think about situations like that, sometimes descriptive statistics will work in your favor, but sometimes to go on to perform the process itself, it can get cumbersome. So how do we solve this problem? How do we find ways through which we can measure so many things? Maybe you want to measure something in terms of accuracy. Maybe you want to have a metric that will just describe the data, which if you just look at your screen right now, 18 sedans, 4 SUVs, 3 convertible cars, you can probably find out the total number of cars that are sold. You can find the colors of the cars, types of cars, and all of that, right? Now, if I ask you a question, what is the average number of cars that was sold? Do you have data ready on your screen to tell you that? No, you have to perform some calculations based on the data at hand to give you that answer. What is the average number of cars that were sold? What is the minimum number of cars that were sold? What is the maximum number of cars that were sold? You're getting this right. You still have to describe the aspect of using the concept of statistics, but in this particular case, wherein you will have to perform some operation to give you the description that you require, that is where we have a lot of measures that come into the picture. Measures of central tendency, measures of accuracy, measures of variability. All of these things are at the heart of statistics, to a point where you will completely assess and analyze and come to your answer through certain operations powered by your data. And that is exactly what we are going to check out from this section till the end of this particular course.
We have heard this Excel so many times, correct? If you are working in an organization or for your personal life or for any other purpose, okay, like for financial budgeting, or if you want to prepare enough financial reports, or if you are going to create any workbook, or if you are going to report, you need to analyze. For that, visually, we need to show that whatever the financial reports or whatever the budgeting information or whatever the data. So we are going to use this Excel, correct? So it is a worldwide accepted software. Okay, so we'll start with what are the basics information of Excel. So how we can use the Excel, or how we can start or save, or whatever the basic things we can do in Excel. Okay, so let's start. So you can just go to start and you can type Excel. This is the one way to open the Excel software. Okay, so here you can see so many templates are there, correct? So here it is a blank document, or take a tour, drop down list, formulas, Power Query, pivot table, pie charts, whatever the various uses we are going to do in the Excel. Like some, they are going to add the template for their monthly budgets also. Okay, so if you want to create a templates also, you can create and you can save it here. Okay, so first I will start with this blank workbook. So this is the Excel interface look like. Okay, so this we call it as columns, this we call it as rows, correct? So this we call it as ribbon. Okay, all these, whatever the commands are there, like file, home, insert, draw, page layout, all these are commands. Okay, under that we have commands groups also. You can see this gray line, correct? So this paste, cut, copy, format, this is a command group. And this is one more group, like what is the font, bold, italic, underline, font size, all those things were there, correct? Like this, these are the groups of commands. This we call it as ribbon, and this we call it as commands and commands groups. Okay, so first time, if you open here, like file, here you can open new file if you want to start newly, okay, or if you want to create fresh any data, or if you want to record the data, then you can go for this new, open. First time if you are saving, or first time if you are going to fill any information and then you are going to save, then this will work, save. Okay, if you click on that, it will go to save as, because on which tab or in which, like desktop, C drive, or which drive you need to save, that information it will ask. Once it is saved, that will be there in that particular place. Okay, print, share, export, publish, all those things were there. Okay, so this is the first one, file. After that, if you go to home button, like for all these things, we have shortcut keys also that we are going to learn in the coming video. Okay, so paste, cut, copy, format painter, font, caliber, that is the font, and we have the font size, bold, italic, underline, all those things were there. Okay, so these are the command groups were there. If you want to do conditional formatting, that also we are going to discuss in the coming videos. Okay, next we have formulas and tables. Exclusively we are going to record this format, that is table and borders also. So how to create a formatting, the whatever the information or data are there, and how to do the tabling, like for sort, filtering, conditional formatting, all those things we are going to cover in this particular video in the coming slides. Okay, next if you go to insert, so here also like pivot table, we have covered this video also in this. Next, the tables. Okay, for this we have shortcut keys and all. Whatever the pictures you need to insert here, that you can do it here. Outline, shapes, icon, all those things are command groups were there. here you can see the charts and graph. Pie diagram were there, candles, line, chart, all those things were there, correct? Maps, all those things are the command groups in here. Okay, next, draw, page layout, like if you want the margins or whatever the size, okay, border you need to place left side or right side or the header and footer, all those things we can do it here. Okay, next, if it comes to formulas, okay, so here also this is the command groups. We can easily type the formulas also here, or else we can use this whatever the auto sum recently used or whatever the financial, logical, text, all those things. Okay, we can easily apply the formula and you can check also. So here auto sum option is there. For example, in this F column we are going to enter few numbers here. Okay, then you can apply a formula is equal to sum and whatever the tabs information you have given or whatever the number you have filled, select that, close the bracket, click enter. Then you will get the total of all those information. Or else just if you go here, select that whatever the numbers are there, click on here, auto sum, directly it will come the information. That is also one more way to create the formulas or applying the formulas for the numbers. Okay. Next, if you go to data, whatever the data we are going to type here or the information are there in the Excel worksheet. Okay, from that information we can do this filtering, sorting. This is also we are covered in this particular video in the coming slides. Okay, next, review, lookup function. This is very, very important for visualization of the information or the data or the reports. Okay, so this is the main tool we are going to use for the visualization. This is also covered. Okay, help, and if you want to sign in, then you can protect your workbook or you can share all those things. We can do it in this Excel.
Now, I want to expand a little bit more on referencing and tell you guys a little bit more. And I will go into it over here in discount pricing. So let's actually take this. And there's one more cool thing I want to show you guys is that if you select something, you can always move it, right? And none of the things will change. So that is another awesome thing about Excel. You can copy this, you can come to class marks and paste it here, right? This is what we wanted. All right, cool. So this was us talking about class marks. Now there is one more thing I want to mention. Let's take this and let's do a highlighting. Let's say how bad were their marks. So we can do conditional formatting in which we color their marks, right? So this tells us which was the lowest mark they scored. We can do the same with the rest also. We can just copy this and take the format painter and paint the rest of the cells. And you guys can see that they also scored. We can also see the score marks of there also. So 99 was the highest for Satyam, 54 was the lowest, and 65 was the average. And 89 was the highest for Shruti, 78 was the second highest, and 55 was the lowest. So you can see that Shruti did overall the best, but that is all right. Marks really don't matter. It's about your skills and your passion about certain things. That's me putting my own motto on you guys. All right, so we can also do a lot of different formulas. So there is min max formula. So who got the highest marks in your maths? So we can do max over here, and I can type min over here, and I can do an equal to max, and it will take these values, close them. 89 was the highest. We can stretch this to know who got the highest in English. Highest English was 99. Highest in physics was 55. We can do the opposite over here. We can put min, open brackets, select these, close the brackets, and we can just stretch this out. 65, 45, and 46 was the lowest. So this is how you can go ahead and work with that. And let me show you one more thing. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just keep on stretching these, right? So it goes to 15. And here also conditional formatting would look a little better. You can see how it goes from 1 is the lowest and 15 is the highest. Now, if I want, I can change this to 1 to be to have 1 to be the highest, the opposite, right? So you have different kinds of conditional formatting. So this is also very helpful because visual aids are very important to humans because we are dumb when we see just a number of just numbers, right? So we want to visualize. And there is another thing that we can do to visualize. If I take this and I go to insert and I click on chart. So let's say we want a pie chart and we select the pie chart, and here we can see the total amount of marks scored, right? So we can see Satyam scored this much, but this is generally used when you have like a singular total. So in maths, maybe the total is 300, and out of 300, actually this does not work very well, but I'm just showing you can even make charts also over here. And there is another interesting thing, that if you select some group, you will always have a quick analysis option over here, or you can just press Control Q. So all the things that I showed you over here, if you want to add like formatting, data bars, if you want to do color, if you want to do icon set, if you want to add greater than, less than, those kind of things, or if you want to go and add more charts, if you want to do a line chart to get to see the marks of these students, how do they fluctuate based on maybe time. So instead of maths, English, physics, we only have maths, and we have multiple tests of maths. So in first maths test, Satyam scored this much, in second he's third, and third and fourth he scored this much. So we can see their growth and this thing, so we can see any trend. So this is again very useful to understand how a particular student is scoring or not, right? Okay.
With a solid grasp of Excel basics, you are now ready to unlock the true potential. Next, we will explore formulas and functions, essential tools for performing complex calculation, analyzing data, and automating tasks. Mastering these will enable you to handle data more efficiently and effectively, making your workflow smoother and more productive. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more videos.
Alright guys, so let's get started with the agendas for today's video. So at first, we'll be understanding what exactly is a formula in Excel, and then we'll be understanding how Microsoft Excel figures out that a user is going to enter a formula. Moving on to the technical part of the formula, we'll be understanding the precedence order of operators that will be used for entering the formulas. After which, we'll be directly jumping into the live Excel workbook to understand the concept of entering, copying, editing, and hiding a formula. Moving on, we'll be understanding the next major part of the video, where we'll be discussing the functions in Excel and how functions and formulas are correlated to each other, and then we also will be discussing the three major parts of a function. Also, where we'll be discussing how to view, search different functions that is provided in Microsoft Excel. And then coming to the concluding part of the video, that is the most exciting part of the video too, where we'll be discussing the top 10 Excel functions that every Excel user need to be aware of to make their life easier. So guys, I think you understood the structure of agenda for today, and I hope you guys are really excited to move forward. So let's get started. So now let's discuss what is a formula in Excel. So as you can see on the screen, a formula in an Excel is an expression that operates on values in the range of cells or a cell, and on a mathematical point of view, it is a calculation for a specified purpose. So you might be wondering, why am I explaining a formula to you? Because we all know that we have been exposed to a ton loads of formulas right from our school days. But to understand a formula in Microsoft Excel, you also need to understand what is a range. So what exactly is a range? A range is simply a rectangular box of selected cells. So if I take the example of the snapshot that is provided, you can see there a red highlighted box, and that is exactly a rectangular box of selected cells. So now, how to name or identify a range? A range is identified by the name of the cell in the upper left corner of the range and the name of the cell on the lower right corner of the range. So in this example, the A column intersects with the first row, and that's how it got the name A1, and the B column intersects with the row that is B3. So to identify or name a range, that is A1 colon B3. That's how you name or identify a range. So how do you select a range? So to select a range, you just need to drag across the range or the cells you want to be in your range. So now, I think you guys have understood what exactly a range is, and you might have understood what is the relation between a formula and a range. Now, let's move on to the next topic, that is how to enter a formula. Before entering to the topic of how to enter a formula, we will first discuss how Microsoft Excel understands that the user wants to enter a formula. So in the first example, the user inputs 22 plus 44 plus 55, and Microsoft Excel understands this input as a text only because there is a lack of equal to sign. So the equal to sign is the factor which tells MS Excel that the user wants to enter a formula. In the second example, you can see that the user has inputted equal to sign and then moved ahead to entering the formula, that is 22 plus 44 plus 55. And as soon as this is done, you can see Microsoft Excel has identified that the user is wanting to enter a formula, that is sum. This is the correct way, and on the left side, this is the incorrect way of entering the formula. So now I think you have understood how Microsoft Excel understands the user is wanting to enter a formula or not. Moving on, now we'll understand the two different ways to enter a formula. So the first way of entering the formula is by using the actual values, and the second way is by using cell references. So in the below example, you can see that we have the data sets of marks obtained by students in particular subjects, and we are trying to calculate the score obtained by Ram. In the first example, we are using the actual values obtained by Ram to calculate his score, and in the second example, we are using the cell references to calculate his total score. To understand this concept even better, we will move on to the live workbook. So here, let's start off by calculating the score using the actual values. So let's hit equal to and enter the scores obtained by Ram. 89. And then let's hit the enter button. As you can see, the total score of Ram was calculated. Now, let's use the cell reference method to calculate the total score obtained by Ram. So to do that, we'll hit equal to button, click on the cells that are required, hit the plus button, and then click on the enter button. So there you go. We have calculated the total scores by both the methods. So now let's talk about a situation wherein a faculty made an error while entering the marks, that is 76 instead of 90. So now we'll go ahead and correct this mistake. And as soon as we did this, we can see that the total score that was obtained by Ram, which was calculated using cell references, got updated, but the score that was calculated by using the actual values didn't get updated. So this is one major advantage of using cell references in formulas, because if any updation in the cells which are under reference in a formula gets updated, the final desired output also gets updated. Alright guys, so now I believe that you might have understood the two different ways to enter a formula and also the advantageous way to do the same. Now moving on to the next topic, that is precedence order of operators. The mathematical operations in Microsoft Excel works on the principle of board mass or pet mass. Board mass accounts to the bracket order of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, and pet mass accounts to parenthesis of exponential, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Microsoft Excel imposes a hierarchy on the mathematical operations, and it goes like first comes exponential and then followed by the division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. But addition and subtractions are both equally ranked, and whichever Microsoft Excel encounters first gets executed first. So that's how all the priority of operators takes place in Microsoft Excel, and this plays a major role while we use mathematical operators in a formula.
Now let's come to the final topic that we are going to discuss in this video in VLOOKUP function. The final topic is nothing but to bring in the largest or the smallest value of our concern to the particular cell. So let's see how we'll be able to implement that. I'm going to look at the price ranges and get the maximum price and the minimum price. So that will be the example which I'm going to take to implement the smallest value and the largest value through VLOOKUP function. So that in order to have a minimum value, let me write minimum here, and then here I should be getting the minimum value of the prices. Okay. So here let me apply the VLOOKUP function equals VLOOKUP, and then since we are going to find the smallest value, let me put min minimum open bracket, then we'll be selecting the range. The range will be this much. So this is the range. I've selected the range, close bracket, comma, and table array. So the table array would also be the same. So let me select the table array. I've selected that as well, comma, and column index number. Since the range of selection and the table array are the same, so the column index number would be 1, comma, tab, close the bracket, and hit enter. See, we have got the minimum value in the price range. So let's check that. 10, 3, 3, 1, 20, 250, 10, 40, 70, 230, 80, 55, 210, 5, 40, 225. So in all these ranges, the minimum value would be 3. And we have got the right minimum value. So let me find out how to find the maximum value. So in order to find the maximum value, I'll be finding that here for the price range as well. Maximum value for your reference. So I'm applying VLOOKUP function here, which is nothing but equals VLOOKUP and maximum value. Since we are finding the maximum value, I'm writing max, open bracket. I'm selecting the range from which I need to find the maximum value, close bracket, comma, table array. Since here the table array and the range would be the same, so I'm selecting the same thing again, and the column index number. Since the table array and the range is the same, so for us the column index number here would be 1, comma, and here we need the exact max, right? So I'll be putting 0 and then closing bracket, hit enter. And now I've got the maximum value, which is 250. Let me check here. 225, 210, 230, 250. There's no value which is greater than 250. So we have found out the method to implement VLOOKUP function for maximum and minimum values as well.
So coming to the first function, that is count. So let us enter the count function, that is equal to count, tab, and let's select the range and hit the enter. So 9. So just to cross check whether the count function is properly checking, we'll just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so the count function is working perfectly fine as proclaimed. And then we'll now move on to the sum function. So to calculate the sum of the marks, that will be equal to sum. Hit the tab button, select the range where the sum needs to be calculated, hit enter, and there you go. The sum is 698. So now we want to understand what was the maximum score that was achieved by a student in the subject. So to understand that, we'll go to the max function, max, tab, hit the range where the maximum value has to be found out. Click on enter, and there you go. That is 87. So 87 is the highest score of a student that is being scored in this test. So moving to the minimum function. So the minimum function tells us that which was the minimum under the least score that was scored by a student in the test, and we'll be selecting the range and clicking on the enter, and there you go. So that was 64. So 64 was the least score achieved by a student in that test. So moving on to the next set of functions that are average and f. So basically what average function does is it returns the average of its arguments. So basically what are these arguments? These arguments are none other than the cells or the range of cells. Now coming to the if functions, it is actually logical functions. So if you are a computer science student, you might have used a lot of if loops or if else loops, if else statements. It basically works the same in Excel too. It is a logical function which displays a user defined output according to the condition. So to understand this better, let's move to the live workbook. So average function, let's find the average score of the student in this test. So to do that, first we'll enter equals to average, then we will enter the range and hit the enter button. So here we can see that the average of the class is 77.5. Now to work upon the if function, I would like to say that if a class average is below 75, then the class can do better. So, and if the class average is higher than 75, the class performance is good. So if I have to put an if condition or an if function, I'll put it as if tab. So the condition is first they are telling for the logical test. So here we'll be telling that if average is less than 75, then we'll put a comma, and they're asking if the value is true, like if the average is less than 75, what should be the output that you want the Excel cell to give. So if average is less than 75, I want the output to be can do better, CDB. So that is the output I want, and then I'll hit a comma, and then now they are asking for the value if false. So here they're telling that if the average is above 75, so the condition is getting false. So I just want to put the output to be good performance. Now we'll see what is going to happen, and just click an enter button. So here you go. So that's the output that has been received, good performance. So I would just want to know whether I would certainly, for a change, I'll put the score and alter the average. So I'll put the alter the average mark to the 60, and now you can see that the average has reduced to 74.66, and that is actually less than 75, and the conditions becomes true, and the if output comes as CDB, that is can do better. So that was the output that I had given. That is the first condition. If it is true, then the output is CDB. And before, the condition was false, that is the average was above 75, so it was good performance was the output. So now moving on to the next function, that will be concatenate function. So basically concatenate function attaches or concatenates the values of the selected cells. So to understand this better, we will directly jump into the live workbook. So here you can see the first name of the students and the last name of the students. So if I want the first name and the last name to be attached and to get a full name of the students, I will be using the concatenate function. So let's try it out. So concatenate tab. So they are asking for me the first text, that is Raj. Then I'll hit a comma, then Kumar, and then hit an enter. So here you can see that has printed out Rajkumar, but I feel that the text that has come up is very congested, and I believe there should be a space between Raj and the last name Kumar. So what I'll do, I'll just go and edit the function, and I'll put a small space using 2 double quotes and a space between them, and hit a comma, and then hit enter. So now you can see that there is a small space between them. So now there is a question, does concatenate function only work on text? So the answer is no. It can also work on numbers too. So if you want to concatenate a number to the like if you want to add the score besides the Rajkumar's name, we can do that. So to do that, we'll just edit the function. We'll go there, hit a comma, then we'll tell them to add 78 as the text, and then hit enter. So see, there you go. So Rajkumar, both the first name and the last name, and we also have the score that has been scored by him. So I'll just drop down this to copy everything the same way, and there you go. We have the full name of all the students who attended the test, and we have also got their marks on besides them. So now moving on to the next set of functions. So we have countif functions, sumif functions, and drop-down list function. So what exactly does a countif function do? So countif function counts the number of cells according to the criteria provided by the user. And the sumif functions adds the values of the cells within a range according to the criteria. The drop-down list is also a kind of conditional functions. All these 3 functions are too much into conditional, so I think it will be really easy to understand if we do it in a practical live workbook. So let's jump into the practical live workbook to understand it better. So first, let us work on with the countif function. So countif and then tab. So here we can see they're asking me for a range. So I am selecting the range as the section, and I'll hit the comma, and they're asking me for the criteria, and I'll give that batch A as a criteria. So what exactly am I trying to get an output for here? So here I'm actually trying to find out how many students from section A has attended this exam. So that is what I'm trying to find out. So when I here hit the enter key, let's see how many. It's showing 3. Let's just cross check. So here it's 1A, you can see 2, and we can see 3. So that's exactly the number of students that had attended the exam. So I'll just drag down and see whether the other section students, how many of them have attended the exam. So it's showing that B section there are 4 students, and the C section there are 2 students. So let's just cross check for confirmation. B1, 2, 3, and 4, and C comes to be 2. Yeah, so this is exactly what we had the countif functions have produced the output for. Now let's move to SUMIF function. So let's put SUMIF, hit the tab. Yeah, so they're asking me for a range. So I'll put the section as a range, then move to comma and hit the criteria. So criteria will be this A, B, A batch, and then I'll hit, they're asking me for the sum range. So sum range will be the score achieved by the students. So yeah, so what exactly am I trying to get output here in this case? So in this case, I am trying to understand that the score that was obtained by the students studying in only section A. So what is happening here, the SUMIF function is actually selecting the students only from section A and then summing their scores that they have obtained. So when I hit the enter button, I'll get the students score, the score of the students summed up who are studying in section A. There you go, that is 239. So you can see that section is 79 plus 76 plus 85, that will sum up to 239. And I'll just drag down and see to get the results of other 2. There you go, B section students, 4 of them are doing. And then you can see the results are like, if you sum up the scores, you get 288, and C, you can see there are 2 students, and if you sum up their scores, you get 145. So that's all for countif functions and SUMIF function. So here we come to the last function that has to be discussed in this video, that is drop-down list. So how does a drop-down list work? So now I'll create a drop-down list function. So first I'll select a cell, then I'll go to data, and then I'll go to data validation, and here I'll go and select list, and they're asking for the source. So I'll click here and tell the source as the names of the students, and I'll hit OK, and there you go. Now we can get to select any student's name here. So basically how a drop-down function works is conditionally with respect to any other function. So if I had to, like, say, if I use the SUMIF function here, and I say that the range is the name, and I put comma, and I say the criteria is the name that pops up in the drop-down list, then I tell some range. So some range, I'll say that I'll want to show the output of the student that I want, that I'm going to select in the drop-down list. So I'll hit enter, and there you go. So there's Ram's score in this particular test. So if I want to get to know the score of Sachin, I just click here, and there you go. There I get, that is Sachin's score, that is 76, and I just don't need to search here in this table. So here, drop down list, if I want to check for Elena's, that is 64. So I don't have to search every time for the score of a particular student if I can get it very easily with the help of drop down list.
Now let's understand in VLOOKUP function how we'll be able to bring in multiple values at once. For example, what if you need to apply VLOOKUP function at once for product name and price for all the cells here? So in one go, you need to get the product name and the price. So you need not go for product name at once and then implement that for the price again. So here, by looking at VLOOKUP at multiple values, we'll be able to bring in both of them in one go. So we'll see how we'll be able to implement that. So let me implement that here. So VLOOKUP function. So the VLOOKUP value will be this, comma. So let me fix the column here so that the column will not be changing. So for that, I'll be implementing this, and I have to select the table array, right? So I'm selecting the table array here. Yes, that is done. And I'm also locking that, pressing F4, comma, and I need the column index number here. So for product name, the column index number here would be 2, and for price, the column index number would be 3. So since we are having a dynamic column number, what we should be doing is we should be going for columns, open bracket, and we should be selecting the initial 2 cells, that is this one is to I4, right? So make sure that you're fixing the product ID cell here, so that for that we need to fix it here by pressing F4. Yeah, fix that as well. Close the bracket, comma, tab, close the bracket, hit enter. Now we have got the value here, which is bucket. For product ID, the product name is bucket here, right? So let's copy that to here. See, we are getting the value 250 here. We have already implemented one VLOOKUP function where we'll be getting the product name and price at the same time. And let's go down and see if we'll be able to copy it till the end. See, we have copied VLOOKUP function for the product name and the price in one go. We can also copy by simply double clicking on the right side bottom corner. See, so we have copied the product name with respect to the product ID and the price with respect to the product ID from this table array which we have selected. So we have learned how to implement multiple values at once using VLOOKUP function in Microsoft Excel.
Now moving on to the next topic, that is how to enter, copy, edit or hide a formula. And to discuss that, we'll be directly jumping into the live workbook. In my earlier example, if you remember, I had actually shown you how to enter a formula. Now we'll understand how editing a formula works. In the same very example, if you recall, I had actually changed the mark of RAM from 76 to 90. And as soon as I did that, the total score of RAM got updated in the cell which used the cell references to calculate his total. But the cell which used the actual values obtained by him didn't get updated. So in order to update the total score in this cell, we have to edit the formula. There are 3 different ways to edit a formula. The very first way of editing the formula is by clicking on the cell and moving your cursor to the formula bar and making the required changes. And when I hit the enter button, you can see that the formula got updated and RAM's total score is also changed to 444. Now the second way of editing the formula is by double clicking on the cell. And when you do that, the formula which is beneath the cell comes in front of it and the required changes can be made. And now the third and the most simple way of doing an edit to a formula is by using a shortcut key. So first, we'll move to the cell that requires the edit. We'll hit the F2 button. And as you do that, you can see the formula which was beneath the cell comes in front of it. And we can make the necessary changes and click on the enter button. So that's the 3 ways to edit a formula. Now, I would like to ask you a question. What is the first thing that strikes your mind when you hear copy and paste? I bet it is Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. Yes, these keys also work in Microsoft Excel. Let's go ahead and try it out. So when you click on the cell which you want it to be copied, hit the keys Ctrl-C and move it to the cell that requires the pasting and hit the keys Ctrl-V. Now as you can see, the copy is made, and the important part over here is it's not only the content that is getting copied, it is also the formula that is coming along with it. The another simple way of copying a formula is by right-clicking the mouse button, going to the copy option, then moving to the cell where you want it to be getting copied, go there and use the paste option. Now let's discuss the third and the most widely used way of copying a formula, that is drag and drop. Now, if you can see on the screen, when I hover my mouse in the corner of the cell that requires to be copied, you can see a black plus that is getting formed. Now, click on the cell, drag it till the cell where you want the formula to be copied and drop it off. There you go. You can see both the content and also the formula is coming along with it. This is the way where you can use drag and drop to copy a formula. So till now, we were copying a formula from a cell that was non-dynamic in nature. Now let's move ahead and copy a formula that is dynamic in nature. As we do that, we can see it's not the value of 444 that is getting copied below, but it is some other values that we don't know where it is coming from. To understand that, we'll go and double click on the cell. So as you can see here, it is the scores obtained by Ria in particular subjects that is getting added up, and her total score is published in that row. So what actually is happening here is, since we copied a cell that was dynamic in nature, it is still using the same formula that we used to calculate the total score of Ram, but it is using the cell references of the scores obtained by Ria and adding them up to calculate the total score obtained by her. In the same way, Mohan's and Emma's scores are also added up and it is published in these cells. So this is the another major advantage of using cell references in formula. As you can see in the example, as we drag down the formula, it automatically calculated the scores of the other students and published it in the respective cells. And this actually makes a life of a Excel user a lot more easier. Okay guys, now we'll understand how to hide a formula in Microsoft Excel. To do that, I'll first enter some random formula into a cell. There you go. And now when we click on the cell, you can actually see the formula in the formula bar. So in order to hide the formula, first we'll have to format the cell. And we'll go to the production tab and we'll check these boxes and hit on the OK button. Now we'll go to the review tab, go to protect sheet and enter password of our own. Click OK, then again confirm the password, and there you go. Now when you click on the cell, you can actually see the formula. So now if you want to hide a formula from any other third-party user, you could actually use this function and go to protect sheet to hide any complicated or secretive formula that you have found out. So in order to get back your formula, you have to go to the unprotect sheet and hit on the formula that you had entered earlier. And when you do that, whatever formula was beneath this cell, you can retrieve it back. Alright guys, that's awesome. Now I believe that you guys have a clear idea of how to enter, copy, edit, and also how to hide a formula.
Here we are going to discuss about tables and borders in Excel. So how to draw a table or how to do the borders for the whatever the data or whatever the informations are there. So in that what we can do is sorting and filtering. For that it is very useful. Okay. So first we'll see how this table and borders will work. Okay. So tables in Excel, the Excel table command to convert a list of data into named Excel. Okay. So whatever the raw data are available, okay, that we are going to put in a single worksheet or in a spreadsheet, and then we are going to put a name like whatever the just example I will give you. I'm going to take a details of students, okay, 10 standard students and how much they have scored in the physics and in the mathematics, these two subjects, okay, that information. So for that we can give whatever the 10 student, whatever the batch or section that we can mention as a file name. Correct. Next, these tables have useful features like sorting and filtering. So this sorting and filtering also, especially in this particular video series, we have this filtering and sorting options also, or functions of sorting and filtering also explained in this video. Okay. To help organize and view data. So we need to organize the data. If it is a raw data, so easily we can't search anything. Correct. So on that time we need to organize this data, whatever for our feasibility or for our readability, we need to organize the data and we can see. So for this doing tables, or if you want to create a table and border. So to convert any data into Excel table, the step 1, hit insert ribbon and then hit table. You can have this commands group. Okay, in that command group you have table. You need to hit that ribbon or in that command groups. Next, step 2, check or selected cells of the table and hit OK. So which one you want to do or for which data you need to create a table, just select that and you can click enter. Then you will get the whatever the table format or borders. For sorting and filtering function also we can enable in this table format. So shortcut is Control T. So whichever the details are there, just go and click in any one cell and just press Control T. That will select the complete data and click enter. Then you will get the table format. Or else we need to go for the step 2. That is check, or we need to select whatever the data is required and then we can apply the tables and borders. These are the 2 methods we can do. So that I will show you in the Excel also. So this is the data I have taken. So this just will give the headings for this. Serial number, faculty name, student name, gender, next the date, on that day they have submitted assignments or whatever. Okay, after date we have numbers, right? So that we can give marks of physics, marks of maths. Okay, so next, if you want to create a table, we have 2 steps, correct? Either step 1 or we need to go for step 2. So in the step 1 we can go and select complete this whatever the details are there, then you can create a table, correct? Or else we have a formula that we can apply or whatever the shortcuts are there, just using the shortcuts and we can select this data. Okay, just go to insert. Okay, this is the table, correct? So the shortcut is Control T. See, my table has headers. So for this headers, if you already have the headers, it's fine. If it is not there, then you need to create headers and then you can tick or untick. If you untick, that will not take. If you tick, then the first whatever is there, that will take it as a headers. Then you can click OK. See, now we can have the options of all this table function. Like here, whatever the drop down menu is showing, right? Here you can go for sorting and filtering also. Like from ascending order to descending order, or filtering, only you require from 10th number to 15th number. All those things we can apply and we can see here. And see, all these styles were there. So for whatever, for your visibility, you can select whichever is looks good to you, or for your data, that you can select like colors or whatever the formatting, all those things you can select. So this is also the table function. Okay, and the borders also, like row and column wise, only column row wise, or only row with the middle numbers, or whatever the colors also, the line borders. Okay, that you can select here. And if you want more styles, you can go and you can check here. And if you want any new style also, you can go and you can use anything is feasible for your data. Okay, or which is looks good to you. Okay, that you can go and you can do this tables and borders. And about this filtering and sorting, okay, here we have sort and filter option or command, correct? So this is also in the coming videos we have covered. Okay, you can check this filtering and sorting also. So now we are going to discuss about date and time function. Okay, so here in this video we are going to cover how to calculate the today, now function, year, month, day, hour, minute, second, weekday function, week number function, ISO, week number, work day, hour, minute and seconds. Okay, so these are the information we are going to discuss in this particular date and time function in Excel. Okay, so here just I have given some examples data, or you can call it as dummy data. Okay, customer name ABC Enterprises, invoice number 1565, invoice date. So here if you come for the date, okay, here we have date, month and year. That is the format, correct? So if you want to change this, okay, you can go here, right click, format cells, Then you can go here, date. Here you can see 14, that is DDMMYYY. Okay, here also DDMMYY. Like this, we have so many other options are there. So which one is feasible for you people? Okay, according to whatever the flow you are going to follow for your organization or for your personal purpose or any other things. Okay, select that one. I'm going for this day with DD, month and the year. Okay, this is the format I have taken. Next, if you go for a credit period, so this ABC Enterprises, they are allowing these people to pay the money within 5 days, and the invoice amount is 1,50,000. Okay, so this is the basic information for calculating this information. Okay, so first we calculate day, like how many days are for this particular, this Wednesday, 4th December 2023. So which day, if you are going to calculate in a bulk, this is just one information, so we can tell that 4th December 2023. So which day? 4th day, that is number 4 date, month is December and the year is 2023, and which date is Monday. We can easily tell. But if you have the bulk number of data, if for example 1000 data are there, then individually we can't find which day it is or which month it is or which year it is, correct? So that is the time we can use this day function, and the formula is equal to day and open the bracket, select just this information and close the bracket, click enter. This is same like 4th. Okay, date is 4th. Next, if it comes to month, for month is equal to month, open bracket. Next, select this particular cell, close the bracket, click enter. So December means 12th month, correct? Next, year is equal to year, open bracket, select this invoice date. So 2023. So once you apply this formula, next whatever the bulk data they have given, for example here 180 data they are given. So just you need to drag and drop. Like this you need to drop. Then you will get the what is the date, month, year. Okay. Next, weekday function. So for this formula is equal to weekday. Just select this, close the bracket and click enter. So this is the second day. So if you go for advanced Excel also, we have the option like Monday is the 0 day or Sunday is the 0 day. Like that we need to select Sunday is the week first day or the Monday is the first day. If you select that option, whichever is feasible for your organization or for your information, then you can select. Here Monday is the second day of the week. Okay, that is first Sunday they have given, second is Monday they have given. Like that, whichever the number you want, or you are going to start your organization books or your books of accounts with Monday, or some companies they are going to start on Sunday. So whichever the number of days you are going to start, that number you need to specify in the advanced Excel. That option is also available. Next, week number. So in a week, in the 7 days, this is the second day, Monday. And in this particular year, 2023, this 4th December, in which week it will come, that also we can easily find out with this formula. That is equal to week num, select that F3 column, close the bracket, enter. So in a year, it is 49th week. Okay. Why all this information is very, very important means, so if you are working in a manufacturing company, so all the stocks or the inventory or warehousing, all those information we need to record in daily wise or week wise, monthly wise, quarterly wise, off yearly, yearly wise, correct? So on that time, this all information calculating for each and every raw material comes to the business or whatever the finished goods going out of the business, for all those stock inventory maintenance. These formulas are very, very important. For day-to-day life, for our personal things, we are not going to use, correct? So which week of this year, which month of this year, or which day of this month, all those things will not matter, correct? But in a manufacturing company or in any other companies, if you are calculating the data, or if you are going to store a data like monthly wise, yearly wise, weekly wise, on that time these formulas will help us very, very crucially. Okay, so next, ISO week number. So as per the ISO, that is ISO, if you type, you will get the formula also. Open the bracket, select this information and close the bracket, enter. So why I will tell you what is this ISO week number. Okay, this is, we are going to, as per our calendar year, this is the 49th week of the year. But here we have a special option, or in the feature of, in the advanced Excel, that will be enabled. Okay, just you can select the first day of the year, that is 1st January. So from Thursday onwards, if for example 1st January 2023 is starting from a Thursday, then you can select from Thursday onwards we need to start the books of accounts. So week means that will start from first week of Thursday to second week of Thursday, that is complete 1 week. Like that they are going to calculate, correct? So on that time this ISO week number is also very, very important. Next we are going to calculate the payment due date. Okay, so if for example this is only one information is there, correct? So Monday 4th December 2022, and they are allowing credit repayment period is 5 days. So what is the next, or after 5 days, what is the date? Easily we can write here what is the payment due date. But some companies will give 15 days of credit repayment period, 30 days of credit repayment period, 45 days or 90 days. And if they have 150 or 200 information, the data, on that time calculating that, it is very, very difficult, correct? So first we need to change this date and format. Okay, right click, format cells, select any of these. Okay, DDMMYY. Okay, next go here, formula is equal to work day, that is if in between whatever the Sunday or whatever the holidays are there, that you can select here, and you can select this. Next, how much or how many days they are allowing credit period, that you can select, close the bracket, click enter. So they have sold goods on, that is invoice date is 4th December 2023, and they need to repay that whatever they 1,50,000 on 11th December 2023. Okay, so days overdue also, that we can find out, like what is the current date. Okay, as per the current date, if they are not paid, then they can calculate this days overdue also. So for this days overdue calculation, that is equal to today function, close the bracket, and minus this payment due date. Okay, so this is there in the date, month, year format, correct? That we can easily convert into numbers, that is general, format cells, go to number. Okay, so they have to pay on 11 December 2023, but till the date they have not paid. That is, what is the number of days overdue? That is 239 days is overdue. Okay, like this we need to calculate this overdue. Okay, next we have discussed today, now, year, month, day. Next we can calculate our function. Okay, our second, weekend or weekdays, that we can calculate now. For calculate the current date and time, for that formula is equal to now, close bracket, enter. See, 6th August 2024, and the time is 18 hours and 4 minutes. Okay, so first we can calculate our function. Okay, so for our is equal to our, close the bracket, click enter. So 18 hours. Okay, so here only you can easily find that 18 hours. I've already told you also. So for calculating one information or one details or one data, that is very, very easy. But if it is in a bulk, then these formulas will help you a lot. Okay, next the minute function. So for minute function is equal to minute, select this, okay, close the bracket, click enter. So 18 hours 5 minutes, and we can easily find out the seconds also. Here we have only 18 hours 5 minutes. Seconds they are not given, correct? So seconds also we can find out is equal to second. Select this, close the bracket, click enter. So 52 seconds. This we have now function we have enabled on 18 hours 5 minutes and 52 seconds. We have enabled this function. Okay, so this is how we need to calculate our minute and second function. So these are the date and time functions. Okay, so whatever we have used the formula and calculated, it may be payment due date, date overdue, day, month, year, weekday, week number, ISO week number, hour function, or minute, second. All those things we can go here in the formulas bar, and that in that command date and time. Here also you can go and you can check the formulas, and you can easily, if you are not knowing, okay, the formulas, then you can easily go here, check this formulas, and you can apply, and you will get the values. Okay, so this is how the date and time function works. Having mastered formulas and functions, you can now perform complex calculation and data analysis. Next, we will dive into conditional formatting, a powerful feature that visually highlights your data based on specific criteria. This will help you quickly identify trends, patterns, and other outliers, making your data more insight and actionable. Please subscribe for more videos.
So friends, so what are we waiting for? Let's get started with the video with introduction to conditional formatting. Formatting. What is formatting? Formatting is actually nothing but playing around with some of the tools which we are having, including font style, font size, font color, or fill color. This enables us to make sure some of the contents are standing out from rest of the data. This is mainly done to make sure that the viewers viewing this presentation does not miss up on any of the contents which we would like to share. So only such important key points or data are being highlighted using formatting. Conditional formatting. Before knowing how to implement conditional formatting, can you guys tell me what is conditional formatting? Now we know what formatting is, and we have also talked about change the font style, font color, fill color, and all those things. So is there anything else which we might have missed out which would make conditional formatting? Actually, conditional formatting is formatting itself. The only difference is that by following conditional formatting, it would be more easy and convenient for us to apply formatting in any datasets or worksheet. Here, in conditional formatting, we'll be giving certain conditions, and only the cells in which the data satisfies this condition would be formatted, and rest of the cells would remain the same. Therefore, by following conditional formatting, we need not go to each of the cells and apply formatting for them separately. We could simply give the conditions, and the cells which satisfy the conditions would directly be formatted according to our commands. I can give you a simple example for you to understand how conditional formatting is much efficient than formatting. Consider that you are given a mark sheet of certain students, and you need to filter out the students who got 80+. So if you're following formatting, you need to go through each of the cells and find out who all scored 80+ and apply formatting for each of them separately. But if you're using conditional formatting, you could give conditions, and all the cells which satisfy these conditions will be formatted automatically according to our commands. Now that we know what is formatting and conditional formatting, let us try to understand how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Microsoft Excel. So here, File, Home, Insert, Page Layout, all those things are the various ribbon which is available on Microsoft Excel. So conditional formatting is made available in the Home ribbon, and in the Home ribbon we'll be having the option Conditional Formatting. The various options available to us in conditional formatting are highlight cell rules, top-bottom rules, data bars, color scales, and icon sets. The other sets of options include new rule, clear rules, and manage rules. Highlight cell rules. Highlight cell rule actually helps you to highlight the cell which satisfies the condition. top bottom rule. The topmost or the bottommost values can be formatted here, which satisfies the conditions. Data bars. Data bars are actually pictorial representation or similar to bar graph, which is present within the cell. The length of the bar depends upon the magnitude of the value which is present within the cell. Color scales. In this formatting, the cells will be given a particular color based on the value or based on the range in which they fall under. Icon sets are also similar to color scales. Instead of colors, here icons are given to the cells depending upon the range in which they fall under. The other options which include are new rule, where you will be able to create a new rule based upon your requirement. Clear rule helps you to delete the existing rules which you have already made. Manage rule helps you to modify or make necessary changes to the rules you have already made. Data bars, color scales, and icon sets. I hope you have understood what these three are from the previous slide. Anyways, we'll be diving deeper into these three while we are implementing conditional formatting in the platform Microsoft Excel. Now let's take a look at what is cells that contain. Here, you will be able to format the cells that contain a particular value, text, or belonging to a particular range. You'll also be able to format the cells which are empty or occupied as well. In more rule types, you'll be able to format the cells which are having same values or unique values. You can also format the cells based on top 10 values, bottom 10 values, top 10 percentages, bottom 10 percentages, or values which are having above average or below average. Formula based. Apart from all the other methods in conditional formatting, Excel also provides us to give formula, and only the cells which satisfy the condition in the formula will be formatted. All the other cells will be remaining the same. Now that we have an idea on what is conditional formatting, let's move to the platform and try implementing these methods of conditional formatting on Microsoft Excel. So guys, now we are on the Excel platform, and here we'll be trying to implement formatting and conditional formatting to the datasets which we are having. So let's start with formatting. So in the dataset which we are having to implement formatting, we can see in the column A, we are having name, and these are these many names of these many people. And in column B, we are having their age. So these are the ages of these many people. And in column C, it is a sex, and these are the sex of these many people. So we are having the name, age, and sex. So by looking into the data, we'll be able to understand that name, age, sex are the headings of the three columns, right? So those need to be highlighted. So I'm trying to give bold font to each of the heading, that is name, age, and sex. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to select these three cells, that is name, age, and sex, and try to give it bold. So in home ribbon, so the file, home, insert, page layout, formulas are all the various ribbons which are available in the platform Microsoft Excel. So in order to give bold, we can go to the home ribbon, and here we'll be having the option bold. You can also press Ctrl+B in order to get the font bold. Now we got the headings all in bold, right? So we have got the headings right. Now formatting is actually done for the heading, name, age, and sex. Now what if I need to give a particular formatting for these data based on their sex? So John, Robin, and Sam, these three people, see, John, Robin, and Sam, these three people are male, and Gina and Amy are female. So I want to give a particular formatting for male and female separately, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the male people out of these data, that is John, Robin, and Sam, and then trying to implement fill color. This is the fill option, this is the text color option. Okay, in fill color I'm going to give this color maybe. So I've given a particular formatting to the information which is being represented in the table. So this is John, Robin, and Sam. So we'll be able to recognize easily who are male, who are female. So what if I need to give one more color to female also? So what I'm selecting their data and then implementing with another color, right? So I'm giving dark green for female, light green for male. So I'll be able to depict, or I will be able to interpret very easily who are the male ones, who are the females, right? Okay, that is done. I would also like to teach you one more thing, how you will be able to copy formatting from one cell to another. That can also be done in simple steps, right? So what you need to do is you do formatting to one cell. So John, I have selected the three cells from John, and I'm implementing this color for them. So what if I need to copy the formatting done to these three cells to Robin and Sam? That can be easily done. So in this case, the only formatting done is fill color. So what if a lot of formatting is being done to copy each of those formatting is going to be very difficult, right? So we'll be able to use this option which I'm going to teach you, so that you'll be able to easily copy the formatting which is done to some particular cells of the selection, and then directly implement those formatting completely to the cells which we require. So I have already implemented a kind of formatting to these 3 cells. So I need to copy these formatting to Robin and Sam, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 3 cells, and in the home ribbon, I'm having an option called Format Painter. So Format Painter enables you to copy all the format which is being implemented to these 3 cells which we have selected. So now we know that these 3 cells have been highlighted. So all the formatting which has been implemented to these 3 cells will be copied. And in order to paste this, we can simply select these 3 cells in which we need to paste this. So after releasing your mouse, you'll be able to see that the same formatting which is being implemented with John is directly being copied from John and pasted at Robin. Okay, so in order to paste this to Sam, all these 3 cells are initially copied. So you need to go to the home ribbon and Format Painter, and the format will be copied, and then it can be pasted simply by clicking onto the cells which we require, to the cells which we need the formatting to be pasted, right? So I hope you have understood how we'll be able to do formatting in Microsoft Excel. So what we have implemented is, so we have given bold to these 3 names, that is name, age, and sex, which is the heading, and we have given fill color depending upon the sex, right? So, and we have also learned how to copy and paste formatting from some particular cells to another particular cells which we require. Right. Apart from that, there are a lot of other tools as well. So in here, you will be able to change the text style. Here we'll be able to change the font size. Here, underline, italics, fill color, text color. All these are basic options which is being available in Microsoft Excel. So you can easily go through those and understand. Now we are done with formatting, and let's see how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Microsoft Excel. Right now we'll be trying to implement cells that contain. So with these data, we are trying to implement cells that contain. In cells that contain, we'll be able to conditionally format the cells which are empty, which are not empty. That is one option which cells that contain provides. Okay, and we'll also be able to format the cells which has values ranging from one particular value to another particular value. So we'll be able to give a range or give a particular definition to the range, and then all the cells which define to that range will be formatted. We'll also be able to highlight or format the cells which contains a particular text. So if the cells which we have selected contains a particular text, we can give that text as an input, and if any cells contain that particular text, it will be able to highlight that cells as well. So let's see how we'll be able to implement those things here, right? So right now I'm trying to implement conditional formatting cells that contain to blank cells. So here I want to highlight all the blank cells which are being made. So in quantity, we'll be able to see that there are some cells which is blank. So this cell is blank and this cell is blank as well. So I need to highlight these particular cells. Okay. For that, what I'll be doing is I'll be selecting the cell ranges, and I'll be moving to home ribbon, conditional formatting, and then here I'll be choosing new rule. So when you choose new rule, you'll be having a new box coming up. So in this box, you should select format only cells that contain. So after selecting that, you will be able to do all those things which I have told you right now. So in this first column, you can drop down and choose blanks. So after this, we'll be able to highlight or format a particular cells which are completely blank. So to format that, we can select the format option, and if you need to have a number, font, border, or fill, whichever format you want to give to those particular cells, you can do that. So here I'm going to choose fill. So I'm going to give a color red to highlight that in these particular cells there are no value being input. Okay, so I'm giving OK, and then OK as here as well. So see, now we are able to highlight the cells in red color where there is no values at all in those particular cells. So we are able to highlight that. Now what if you want to do highlighting or formatting to particular cells which range from one value to another value? We can try implementing that. So that also, what we should do is select this range, go to home ribbon, conditional formatting, new rule, and format only cells that contain. Therefore, to give formatting to the cells which fall under a range of value, so for that we can be choosing format only cells that contain, and you can place cell value itself here, and in between you can give the starting value and the ending value. So here the data range from 1 to 11, I guess. So I'm choosing values between 7 and 9. So all the values between 7, so let me give 10. Okay, so all the values between 7 and 10 will be highlighted since we are using between option here, and we can choose the format in which we need to highlight or format that. So format, you want to give border, so outline, I have choose outline, and then I am choosing one color as well. So I choose an outline and color as well for those cells in which the cell fall under the range of 7 to 10. So I clicked OK. See, we have got the cells which are in the range from 7 to 9. We have got that fill color in blue, and we have also got the outlining for each of the cells which satisfy the given condition. So we understood how we'll be able to format the cells which are blank, how we'll be able to format the cells which fall under a particular range of values. Now let's see what can be done to the text we are having here. So we are also being able to format the cells that contain a particular text, right? So I'll be teaching you how we'll be able to implement that as well. Let me undo this. And then, so for text, I am choosing this column, customer column, and I'm choosing these many cells. All the cells in these column or the selected area are to be formatted using conditional formatting with cells that contain. So I've already chosen this home ribbon, conditional formatting, new rule, cells that contain. So since I need to look for particular text, let me select specific text and containing. So I'll be able to select the specific text containing, let me say, 2 letters RA. So if there is any name which contains RA, that will be highlighted, and in which format it should be highlighted can be selected using this. So font, let me make it bold. Fill color should be, say, blue. Okay. See, Rakesh RA is there, Ram RA is there, Rahul RA is there. So in these 3 names we have got the text, specific text RA. So these are the ways in which we'll be able to use cells that contain conditional formatting. So what we have looked at here with cells that contain R, we'll be able to highlight cells which are blank and not blank, cells which belong to a particular range. At the same time, we'll also be able to look into the values which is greater than, less than, minimum, and all those things can also be implemented there. And after that, we went and looked upon cells that contain specific text. So if some specific text are being incorporated in any of the values of our selection, that cells can also be highlighted. Now let's try to find out how we'll be able to format the cells which are greater than a particular value from the selection which we have made. So the selection which we are making here is going to be from B2 to B13, which is nothing but the quantity, and I'm comparing this value to a value in D1, which is nothing but 700. So let me just make the comparison initially in the column D itself. So I'll be writing the formula equals B2 is less than D1. I need D1 to be absolute reference, so I'm giving $ before and after D. So it is getting true. 526 is less than 700. So I'm going for the autofill as well, and this has been updated throughout the table. Okay. Now let's see. Let's apply conditional formatting to the table. Now I have selected the cells in which I need to apply the conditional formatting, and then I'll be formatting conditional formatting from is not empty to custom formula. And here I'll be giving the formula which is nothing but the formula which I have taken here. So I can directly copy the formula from here and paste it here. See, now we have seen that for all the values which are true, we'll be getting the highlighted in the particular month. So in these months, the quantity is being less than 700. So in January, March, April, June, July, September, October, November, the quantity of sales have been less than 700. That is what we have come to know by doing this conditional formatting. Now, if you want to change the formatting default, you can go and say you want to make this blue or say pink or something of that sort. You can select some color and then click done. So by doing this, we'll be able to format or we will be able to format the cells in which is less than a particular value. So if you want to do formatting for the greater value, so which are the values which is greater than 700, you can directly give the formula. You can change it directly here by giving the lesser than formula to greater than formula, and while implementing the conditional formatting, so you can copy the same formula from here and paste it there, so that you'll be getting the formatted for the values which is greater than 700. Now let's try to find out how we'll be able to find out the top 3 or the bottom 3 values in Google Sheets. So as I always mention, try to select the cells which you need to be selecting to perform conditional formatting. So after selecting this, you can go to the option Format, Conditional Formatting, and there you will be able to see the selection which you have made. And then the format rules is not empty, so let's change that to custom formula. And we'll be giving a formula to identify the top 3 values and the bottom 3 values. So first, let's understand what the top 3 values are. So here we'll be giving the particular formula so that we'll be getting the top 3 values. So the formula is equal to rank, and the column is B, right? So we'll be writing B2, that is the starting of the column, comma, and the range is from B2 to B13. So B$2 is to B$13, and we'll be closing the bracket, and we'll be giving the condition less than or equal to 3. So by giving this formula, we'll be getting the top 3 values from the selection which we have made. So if you want to change the format, so let's say if you want to give this color, see the top 3 values in this selection will be highlighted by using this formula. So if you want the top 3 values, you can give done, and then you'll be having the top 3 values highlighted. What if you need to have the bottom 3 values, that the minimum 3 values? So the only difference here is that to the formula you will need to add comma 1. A comma 1 actually makes the software understand that it should be in the ascending order. So that's why we'll be getting the minimum 3 values out of this range which we have selected. So if you need to have a minimum value, just add comma 1 to the bracket, or else if you don't need, just remove that. And since I need the top 3 values, I'll be removing comma 1, so that I'll be getting the top 3 values, and I'll be opting for this column maybe, and done. See, now I've got the top 3 values out of the selection which I have made. Now let's see how many unique values and how many similar values are there in this particular selection we need to check. So that is what I'm going to teach you right now. So in order to identify how many cells contain unique values or how many cells contain similar values, to understand that, we can follow the formula in the particular cell here. So in D2, I'm going to write the formula, which is equals countf, and I'm going to open the bracket, and see, I'm supposed to give the range there. So I'm going to select the particular range here, which is from B2 to B13. So I'll be pressing F4 to log those, and then after that I'll be giving the comma after getting the range and the criterion. So what am I searching for? So I'm searching for the quantity, if it is repeating or not, right? So since I'm searching for the quantity, I shall click on here, so which is nothing but B2, and I'll close my bracket. So after putting enter, I'll be knowing that 526 only comes once in the selection. So there's no other 526. So autofill is actually suggested here, so that if you want to autofill, you can press tick so that all the data will be given here, which is repeating or not. So in all the one shows that all those data are unique, and all the two shows that it is not unique, it is repeating in the selected cells. So all these ones depict that these values doesn't repeat in any of the cells. When you come to 2, say 339, see here is also 339. So 339 appears 2 times, and all the rest other values are appearing only 1 time, since the values showing 1 will be unique and values showing more than 1 will be similar. It can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or any number of times, because how many times it appears in any other cell, it will be adding upon like that. So whenever it is 1, it is showing that it is unique value, and whenever it is not 1, it is showing that it has some similarity with other cells as well. The first thing which I would like to introduce you to in conditional formatting is data bars. So here we have already done the basic formatting, and now we need to do is conditional formatting to start off with data bars. So data bars can be implemented to these cells depending upon the value. Okay, so these are the products: Apple, Samsung, Realme, Redmi, and these are the quantity of these products. Okay, so to implement data bars, the first thing which we need to do is select the cells in which we should be implementing data bars. All right, so the selection is already made, and now to implement data bars, we can directly go to the home ribbon, which is we are already in the home ribbon, and then we can directly move on to conditional formatting, and then select data bars. So in data bars, we are having gradient fill and solid fill. So the difference is that in gradient fill, the color diminishes towards the end, and solid fill, the color remains the same. So let me take one of the gradient fill, that is this. So this is the data bar. Data bars is actually a pictorial representation, bar graph within the cell itself, depending upon the value or the magnitude of the value which is being present within the cell. So the length of the bar depends upon the value within each cell, and so by comparing the values, they'll be drawing the bar graphs, and the length will be decided upon by the magnitude of the values which is present in each of the cells. So what if you don't want to see these numbers? Only what you need is the bar graphs and not the values. So that can also be implemented here. Okay, we'll be able to eliminate all these numbers, and we'll be able to see only the bar graphs. For that to happen, we can go to home ribbon, conditional formatting, data bars, and here we have an option called more rules. Select that, and here you will be getting a dialog box here, and what you need to do in order to remove these values are show bar only. You're having an option here, just give tick here and you can give OK. So by now, you'll be having an idea on which is the lowest value, which is the highest value. A comparison is being made possible here using data bars, where you need not exactly know the values which are being present. So if you want to have the bar graph along with the values, that is also possible. And if you don't want to have the values, just the bar graph, that is also made possible using data bars. Now we'll be trying how to implement color scales and icon sets. Okay, so in the same data set, I'll be teaching you how to implement color scales and icon sets. So in the first column here, we're having month. These are the months from January to December. In the next column, you're having quantity from January to December. So these may be the quantity of items which have been sold in the month is in January to December. And these may be the revenue which they have generated in these many months by selling these many items or these many quantities. Okay, so I'll be trying to explain how we'll be able to implement color scale. So initially, the first thing which we need to be doing to implement color scale is that we should be selecting the cells in which we need to be implementing those. All right, so to apply color scales, I have selected these many cells. Now after selecting the cells, we can move to home ribbon, and then in that conditional formatting, and then we have the option for color scale. So in color scale, we have 3 color scales, 2 color scales. Depending upon us, we can select one. So in this, 3 color scales are green, red, and yellow. And here also green, red, and yellow. The order is different. That is only difference here. So here we'll be having the highest colors will be given to green, and the lowest colors will be having red. Here the vice versa, the highest color will be having red and the lowest color will be having green. So I am choosing this. Okay, so now we have implemented color scales. So what if you want to edit or modify the color scales which we have given? So you want to change the color or you want to change anything else. Okay, so that can be done as well. So to do that, we should be selecting these and go to conditional formatting, and here we have an option called manage rules. Select that. So all the rules which we have applied will be present in this box. Okay, so the only rule which we have applied is graded color scale. So we can select this and give the option edit rule. And then we have a dialog box here where we'll be able to control the number of colors. So it is a 3 color scale. If you want to make it 2, you can make it 2. So the color scale will be varying from red to green. If you want to change the color from say a light blue to dark blue, that is also made possible. So the 2 colors which is available is light blue and dark blue, and we can change the number of colors by here. And if you want to give the here, what is being made is minimum value will be assigned light blue, highest value will be assigned dark blue. So if you want to reverse that, that can also be possible. So lowest value, so here we have having the lowest values given light blue color, in the highest value we are having dark blue color. So if you want to reverse it, you can just select here and go give a dark blue color to the minimum value, and the highest value we can change it to light blue. So we'll be able to control the number of colors in which we need to have the color scales, and we can also change the order in which will be assigned to each of the cells. So we click OK, and if you want to apply and see how it will be looking, so it will be looking like this, and I said OK. So these are the formatting which has been done to these many cells, and the 2 colors, if you have taken the 2 color option. So if you want to implement 3 color, that is up to you. And now coming to icon sets. Okay, now in icon sets, initially what we need to do is nothing but select the cells in which we need to be implementing icon sets. So after selecting this, we need to go to home ribbon, conditional formatting, and then here we have icon sets. So we have directional icon sets, shapes, indicators, ratings, and all those things. Okay, so here also we'll be implementing the icon sets based on these many things. So I'm trying to give this here. So the maximum values will be in green, up arrow. The minimum values will be in red, down arrow. And the median values will be in a hyphen mode with yellow color, right? So that is what we learned in icon sets. So what if you need to modify this as well? So like we modify the color scale, so what if you need to modify icon sets as well? That is also made possible. So select the cells in which the rules which you have already applied, you need to edit that or change that. You can select those particular cells and then move to conditional formatting, manage rules. So these are the so here you will be able to see what rules are you applied. So by clicking this and edit rule, and here we know that icon sets, in icon sets we can change it here if you want to change. So I can show icons only. So if you don't want to show the values here, you will be able to do that, show icons only. So okay, apply. So values will be erased, only the icons will be there. Okay, so you don't need that. So I'm going to change that again. So since I need to have the number there, so I'm going to untick this button, and then the type in which it is being segregated is based on the percentage. So the percentage, so the values which is above the percentage of 67 will be given in green arrow, upward arrow, and the values which is in between the range 33 to 67% will be given in the hyphen size in yellow color, and the values which is less than 33% will be given in red, down arrow. And I'm giving OK here and OK again. See, and now we have got the icon sets, and now we have also learned how we'll be able to implement color schemes and icon sets, and how we'll be able to make necessary changes to the already made formatting. The last method of conditional formatting which we'll be discussing here is formula based. So we can give formula, and the cells which satisfy the given condition in the given formula will be highlighted or formatted using our commands, and the cells which does not follow will be remaining intact. So here I'll be using formula to check on these values, and I'll be highlighting based on these values to this column. Okay, so what I meant to say is that, so depending upon the values in this columns, so if that values are being satisfied, it will be giving this column will be formatted according to that value. So let's begin. So I'm selecting these cells to be formatted in home ribbon, conditional formatting, new rule. So use a formula to determine which cells to format. So that will be the option which I'll be taking. So the formula here which I'm going to do is, so here we are seeing values from 12,000, 13,000, 8,000, 6,000, 11,000, 7,000. So I'm giving a formula where I need to highlight the cells which are above 10,000. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to present my formula here. So every formula starts with an equal to sign. So I put my equal to sign there, and I have chosen this cell. So see, the cell which I've chosen is AH3, right? AH3. Okay. So it is in absolute reference right now. So all the values will be compared to 12,000 itself. So I don't need that. So I need the column to be remaining the same, but rows need to be changing, right? So that absolute cell reference can be changed by removing the $sign before number 3. So the column will be fixed and the row will be moving. So that should be greater than 10,000, right? So, and the format in which it should be done is bold and italic, border, outline, border should be given, and it should be given in this, maybe this color. Okay. See, so what we have done here is we have done the formula for these specific values, and the column which have been highlighted is this. So we selected these column and we compare the formula to the values which is present to these cells, and then after that whichever cell satisfies the condition, the corresponding row or the corresponding cell will be highlighted. We have done in formula based conditional formatting. More rule type is the next phase which we are going to be talking about in conditional formatting. So the features available in more rule type are, we'll be able to format the cells which are similar. So if there is any similar values in other cells, we can be grouping that and finding or formatting those cells. Or if you want to format cells which does not have any similarity, or if you want to format the cells which are having unique data, that can be made possible. Or if you want to format the top 10 values, bottom 10 values, top 10 percentages, bottom 10 percentages, or above average or below average, that can all be made possible using the option more rule type. So we'll be starting off with top 10 values which you want to be sharing. So let's say instead of 10 we can say take 3 or 4. The first thing which you should be doing is selecting the data in which you need to be applying this formatting. So the quantity is the column which I taken for that, and then in these selected cells I need to be implementing this conditional formatting. So I have made the selection and I am going to home ribbon in conditional formatting. So top and bottom rules, in that option itself we are having the option to get the top 10 items, top 10 percentages, bottom 10 items, bottom 10 percentages, above average and below average. So if you're having any requirement of these things, we can directly choose this option. Or if you're having any requirement apart from these top 10, bottom 10, all those things, and if you want to customly design a rule, you can go to more rules over here. So I am choosing to choose top 3 values. So I have chosen format only top or bottom ranked values. So here we can select top or bottom. So since I am having top 3 values, so I'll be choosing top, and instead of 10 I'll be writing 3. So if I want top 3% of the values, so I can click on the button here, so that will be showing top 3% values. Okay, so that can also be made possible here. So since I don't need that, I'll be unticking that, and I'll be choosing the format in which I need to be doing the format. So I gave bold format, I'm giving a fill color of light blue, and then I implemented. So the top 3 values will be highlighted after giving this. So press OK. See, 9, 11, 11 are the top 3 values in the selection which I have made, which is this. So see, without even going through any of the values itself, we will be able to directly implement formatting to these cells in the selections which we have made. And here the top 3 cells are 9, 11 and 11, right? So now we have made the top 3 values. So if you want to make it bottom 3 values, do the same selection, home, conditional formatting, more rules, top, format only top or bottom ranked values. Instead of top, give bottom, and what are the top or what are the bottom 3 values which you need, or bottom 5 values which you need, type that and you'll be getting that. So since I don't require that, I'm not doing that, I'm hitting cancel. And the next option which is available in more rule type is that you'll be able to find out the unique cells which is not being repeated in any of the other cells, or you'll be able to choose the similar cells which is being repeated in other cells, and you can group those, and according to your requirement you'll be able to format. So if you need to say format the unique cells, let's choose the cells initially. These are the selections I have made. Home ribbon, conditional formatting, top, bottom rules, more rules. So here I'll be having format only unique or duplicate values. I am choosing that. So if you choose duplicate, all the similar values will be highlighted in the format which we are giving. So since I need a unique one, so I am choosing unique, and the format in which I need to depict that is fill color, let it be this color. I am giving an outline border, and the font I'll be giving italic. Okay, press OK and press OK. See, 200 is not repeating in anywhere here. 200 is not repeating, 450 is not repeating, 250 is not repeating, 400 is not repeating, 350, 100. These many values which are being highlighted right now in the fill color, slight yellow with outline border and italics are being highlighted because these are unique values. These values are not repeating in anywhere around the cells which we have selected. Okay, that is why we have got these cells highlighted. And the rest of the values might be repeating. See, 300 is here, and 300 is here, 550 is here, 550 is here, and see 0, 0. So since it is not unique, it is repeating, so that is not highlighted. So we'll be able to get the top values, bottom value, top percentage values, bottom percentage values. We'll be getting to know about the above average, below average. So we understood how we'll be able to implement unique and duplicate highlighting or formatting, right? So now let's see how we'll be able to implement above average and below average. Okay. For that, let me undo. And after undoing, I'm making the selection. This is a selection which I need to make. And home ribbon, conditional formatting, top bottom rules, more rules. So above or below average. Okay. I choose that. So if I need to have an above average, I'll be choosing above, or below, or equal to or below, and I can choose depending upon whichever I require, right? So I am choosing above average, format, bold and italic, and then I don't need border, I need a fill color of say maroon. Okay, see, the values which are above the average of the selection which I've made, all those values are highlighted in the fill color and bold and italics. So it is going to be very simple for you. So you don't need to go through each of the cells and identify which is the average, which are the values which are above average. So you need to find out the average initially, and you need to go through each of the cells, and you need to compare the values in the cells with the average, right? All those things can be eliminated here by using conditional formatting more rule type. Now we have understood how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Microsoft Excel. So let's move on and see how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in Google Sheets. So in Google Sheet, we'll be talking about color scales, more rule types, and formula-based conditional formatting. Now let's move on to the platform Google Sheets and see how we'll be able to implement conditional formatting in that platform. Now in Google Sheet, we'll be trying how to implement color scales with the data we are having here. So as I said in the case of Microsoft Excel as well, the first thing we should be doing in order to perform any conditional formatting is that we should be first selecting the cells in which we should be performing the formatting. All right. So here, the cells which I am choosing here is from B2 to B13. So I am selecting all the cells from B2 to B13. And for conditional formatting in Google Sheet is available in the option Format, Conditional Formatting. After choosing conditional formatting, and since we are trying to get the color scale, we can simply go to the tab color scale here, and by going to the color scale itself, we'll be able to see a depiction here according to the default settings. So in here, we'll be able to see the range. The selection which we have made is from B2 to B13, B2 to B13. So that is the particular selection which we have done to apply the formatting here. That is which is being depicted here. And here the minimum value will be given a green color and the maximum value will be given white color. So if you need to have a midpoint, you can add that here as well. So since this is the default setting, it is showing like this. So if you want to change the color to, let's say, light blue, so the minimum value will be in light blue, and the maximum value, let's say, let it be dark blue. So here the minimum value will be in light blue and the maximum value are depicted in dark blue, so that we'll be having a clear idea on what is the magnitude of the values in particular cells just by seeing the color. And if you're happy with the color settings which you have provided, you can simply click on done, so that you have already created the conditional formatting for color scale for this particular cells. And if you feel that one of the conditional formatting which you have implemented in Google Sheets need to be replaced or need to be deleted, you can simply go to the conditional format which is being present here. If you want to edit, you can simply click on that and edit. And after that, after doing all the edits, you can click on done, so that the conditional formatting can be done. So if you feel that the conditional formatting which you have done right now need to be deleted, you can just hover around the conditional formatting which you have done, and then there you will be able to see a trash can. So just by clicking those, you will be able to delete.
You will now learn essential skills such as data cleaning, using functions, and mastering lookup function. We'll also use Excel to cover data visualization techniques.
Phases of a data analytics project. Now the journey of raw data from to meaningful data can be categorized into three phases. The first, data cleaning, second is data analysis, and the third is data visualization. Now for data cleaning, our first step would be to set up a problem statement that would be aimed in solving a specific business problem of your client. Now, what is this problem statement? For example, a phone manufacturer would like to know how many customers actually bought their product while seeing an ad on YouTube. Now, this would involve data. The second step would be to perform an initial analysis on data. So, we need to check whether the data is complete, consistent, and accurate. Next, we'll check for any misspellings and typos. So the raw data can consist a lot of errors and mistakes that need to be removed as soon as possible. So we would remove any misspellings, typos, or even duplicates. Row can be duplicated, columns can get duplicated. So we need to remove that as well. Last is checking for bias. Now, what is a bias? For example, let's assume that your data set is derived from a survey conducted by a food company to know how good is their food. So, one of the questions in that column was how good was the food? So, this statement is inaccurate because it contains the word good. Now, which is biased towards the positive side of the company and would not give them a clear picture of how their product is, which is why it becomes essentially important to remove these kinds of bias as soon as we get the data. Next phase is data analysis. So this is the core of your operations. Since your data is already cleaned and organized, in this phase, you will be playing around with data to find some meaningful insights. So you'll start by deeply understanding the problem statement, finding appropriate relationships between data sets, and also adjusting and formatting data by using certain methods and techniques like lookup functions, conditional formatting, data validations, and using pivot tables. Going forward, we'll look each one of them in depth. Next phase is data visualization. Now, studies have shown that human beings are more adaptive in understanding via visual representation. Now, data visualization provides your analysis to be delivered to your clients and stakeholders in the most efficient manner so that they can make well informed and thoughtful decisions and also find some greater underlying trends and opportunities for the future. So in this phase, we'll be learning about different types of charts like scatter plots, tree charts, map charts, bar charts, and many more. Let's assume that you are given a data analytics project. Now, as a data analyst, your first objective is to make sure your data set is out of any irregularities, misspellings, or typos. Consider it like a bowl of salad that you are preparing. The ingredients would be salt, pepper, fresh vegetables, and some sauces. But now, if the vegetables are not fresh, your final product would be dull and unappetizing, which you won't even eat. Which is why it becomes essentially important that your effort does not go in vain. Same is the case with the data analytics journey. If you do not incorporate data cleaning process, then your final result would be hampered and even consisting of a lot of irregularities that your stakeholders won't even like. Which is why data cleaning plays a essential role to make sure your end results would be in line and uniform with the stakeholders' expectations. Moving on, we look at some of the ways in which we can clean data. Now, Microsoft Excel has been the most dominant platform available in market for decades now and still stands at number one. So we'll do all our analysis henceforth in Excel. So giving you a basic tour. So this space is called a spreadsheet space. Then we have different tabs on the top, right? So these are known as ribbons. So you can perform various activities choosing these. So this is a data set. Verticals are called as columns. Horizontals are called as rows. The first row is called a header or a column heading. So this is the heading of different columns that we have here. So now we have this raw data with us and we need to clean it. So in order to do that, we'll perform certain tasks. So the first one being, we need to check if there are any duplicates present. So I'll look around it, but I don't think so I see any. But since it's very confusing this way, Excel already has one function called removing duplicates. So we'll click on data here, and then we'll click on remove duplicates. So it will automatically select the entire data set, and you can also check which all columns do you want. In our case, we'll click on each one of them, so that entire data set is selected. Then we'll click on OK. So our naked eye could not see that there were duplicates, but there were. So there were 2 duplicates that got removed, and there are 23 unique values left. So we'll click on OK. So the duplicates have already removed. Now, this is a very small data set for understanding purposes, but while you will analysis data, you would not get this small data set ever. So then certain things like remove duplicates becomes really important to know. Next up, we'll just glance through it and we'll see if there are any irregularities present. So I don't see any, but here we go. So in this 14th tab, we see years of experience as 90. So now let's just think. So 90 is not feasible value as year of experience. So it would be a mistake on the client's part or from where you receive the data set. So you need to cross examine it. So whether it is 9 or 19 or something like that. So you need to check with, you should not make any changes to it. You should ask your client first that what is the correct value and then make changes. And also, while you're doing these changes, you should also maintain a logbook, or you should just create a duplicate of the raw data just in case if your data cleaning you miss certain values so that you can recover it later. Okay. So another thing is I would arrange my salary employee column from, let's say, lowest to highest. So this is from lowest to highest. This is sort function. So lowest to highest, I see that 1,01,702 here, employee of the salary, 99,000 is below it. So I don't think so that this was correct. So there is a gap in between. So considering all other salaries, they are in 5 digits. One is in 6 digits. So it can be a possibility that this empty space is by mistake. We'll remove that empty space and click OK. Right? Then we'll again click on this and do sort. So this gets sorted. But again, you need to check with your client that the removed space was correct or not. So these are certain things that can be an issue when you analyze it in a later stage. So it becomes essentially important to correct everything in advance at the first phase itself. So next we move on to functions. What are functions? Functions are predefined instructions or formulas that perform a specific calculation in a particular order in a spreadsheet. So now what is this instruction or formula that we are talking about? So it is basically in mathematical terms a calculation that is performed for a specific purpose, and that can be anything. For example, it can be addition, subtraction, multiplication, or even finding an average. In order to perform these, if you do it manually, it would take a lot of time and effort. You physically have to put the plus operator between every single digit to perform a sum. So in that case, Microsoft Excel already has some predefined formulas so that you can save your time and effort. Now let's talk about how do we write functions. So basic syntax of function would comprise of 3 major components. The first is start of a function. So in order for Excel to know that you are inputting a function, it needs to start with an equality operator. Then we need to define what kind of calculation we need to perform. So it can be some maximum, minimum, average, or anything that we want. We need to input that after equality. Then comes the range of cells. So after the parenthesis, we would input the range of cells. So range, what it is, let's look at this example in which it's written E15 and E20. Now E15 would be the first cell and E20 would be the last cell. For the data set, we want to do that specific calculation. So in this case, 50,220 would be E15, 56,445 would be E20. Now, by clicking on the first cell and dragging it towards the last cell will give me the range of the cell. Then we close the parenthesis and then press enter. So it would give us the average of this data set. Now coming to what are the major types of functions that are required in data analytics process. So that would be 5 different types. First one being countif, length, left, right, concatenate, and trim. So these 5 operators are mostly used to analyze large chunks of data. Moving on, we'll look at each one of them in depth. So the first one is countif. So countif is a function that counts the number of cells that matches a specific condition. So its syntax would be equals to the start of the function, then countif, then the range in which we want countif to operate and the condition. So what is the value that we are searching for? For example, in a class of around 20 students, let's say we have 3 students whose name is Abhishek. So, and we need to find how many times the word Abhishek has repeated. So we'll use countif function for that. We'll start off with equality operator, then we'll write countif, open parenthesis and the range of the function. So in our case, the range would be the total number of students, comma, the condition. So condition is Abhishek, close parenthesis. Now the output would be the total number of times Abhishek has been repeated in the entire data set. This saves us a lot of time and effort. Now let's move on to Excel platform and explore countif little more. So this is a spreadsheet which contains a data set on movie titles and the language in which they are made. So our objective is to find the total number of movies in English, French and Italian. So for that we'll use countif function. So we'll write equals to countif, open parenthesis, our range. So our range is a language column. So from Germany, we'll drag all the way through Italian, comma, inverted commas, criteria. So we need to find how many movies are made in English. So we'll write English, English, close inverted commas, close parenthesis, and press enter. So now we got total movies that are made in English are 5. Similarly, for French, we'll do countif equals to countif, open parenthesis, the range of the function. So the range would again be the same from German to Italian, comma, criteria, French, FRENCH. Close inverted commas, close parenthesis, press enter. So French movies are also 5 and we can count that as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Yes, it's correct. Similarly for Italian, countif, open parenthesis, the range, Germany to Italian, comma, open inverted commas, Italian, and press enter. So total movies made in Italian is 6. So this is how countif reduces our time and effort for long data sets. This is comparatively very short data set, but in cases of long data set, it saves us a lot of time and effort. Next is length function. So length is a function that returns the length of a text string. Now let's assume that a cell contains a word India. Now India has total number of 5 characters, INDIA. So now this functions would return be the total number of characters in that particular cell. So in this case, it is 5. So the syntax is equality, len, in parenthesis, the cell in which we want the function to act. Next, we'll look at another function called left and right function. So similar to length function, left and right function return specific number of characters, but from left and right side in a cell. So it will tell the total number of characters from the left or the right side. So its syntax is equality left or right, in parenthesis the cell in which we want the function to act, comma, number of characters from each side. Now let's look at these two examples in Excel. So here we have the same spreadsheet of movie title and language. Now we'll know how do we use it. So we'll put equality sign and we'll write len, open parenthesis. We'll select the language cell, German, and then we'll close the parenthesis and press enter. So now German has total 6 characters, GERMAN. So it will give me exactly the total number of characters in a particular cell. We'll try one more example. Let's say we go for this. So we'll type here equality, len, open parenthesis. We'll click on cell A12 and close parenthesis, enter. So total number of characters in Atlantis is 8. So we got the number 8. Let's just say one more example. So I want Miss Jerry. Total number of characters in Miss Jerry. So if we count manually, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 characters. Let's see what this gives. I'll type equality, len, open parenthesis, click on cell A2, close parenthesis, press enter. Now, here seems to be an error that it gives 10 characters. Now we need to know that length function also counts the space in between. So this is a point to be noted. Next, we'll look at left and right function. So now this is a spreadsheet in which we have the name of states and the counties with their pin codes. Now let's just say I want to extract the pin codes from this. So I'll first type pin code that I need to extract. Now I can see that pin codes are of only 6 digits. So I can use left function to extract this. So I'll write equals to left, open parenthesis, the cell B2, comma. Since pin code is of 6 digits, so I'll write 6 and close parenthesis, press enter. Therefore, I get the pin code of each county. So if I click on this plus sign over the right bottom corner and drag all the way through the spreadsheet, I'll get the pin codes of all the counties present. So now I don't have to manually write everything if I need the pin codes of these. So this makes our work easier. Next, we look into concatenate function. So this function combines multiple text cells into a single cell. So for example, you have your first name and last name. Now you want a cell in which it should be full name. So this concatenate function helps join two different cells into a single cell. So its syntax is equality, concatenate, open parenthesis, cell 1, comma, cell 2, close parenthesis. Next is trim function. So trim function helps remove extra unwanted space from the cell. So a lot of times in raw data, there's a lot of unwanted space within the cell, which is why it could hinder your data analysis going forward. So trim function syntax is equality trim, open parenthesis, cell 1, close parenthesis. Now we'll see these two functions on Excel. So as we can see, this spreadsheet has first name and last name written, and we want full name. So in order to use concatenate function, we'll use equality. We'll type in concatenate, open parenthesis, first cell, comma, second cell, close parenthesis, and enter. So now it gives me a full name. But as we can see, there is no gap in between. There's no space in between. But what if we want space? So for that, we'll use equality, concatenate, open parenthesis, cell 1, comma. Now in inverted commas, we'll put a space, which will tell Excel that yes, you want a space in between, comma, last name, close parenthesis, and enter. So now it gives you space in between your full name. Now if I hover my cursor towards the right bottom and drag all the way through, so it will give me the same operation in the entire sheet. So this is about concatenate. Next we move on to trim. So this is the same movie titled spreadsheet. Now we can see there's a lot of unwanted space here, 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 and here. So in order to remove that, I'll use a trim function. So I'll create an extra column. Now here I'll write equality trim, open this cell, close, enter. Now I'll hover over the right bottom and drag all the way through. So now we can see all the errors here, here, all these cells that had empty spaces at the start are removed. Next is sort and filter functions. So what is sorting and filtering? Sorting is basically rearranging your data in your spreadsheet in the way you want. So it can be ascending or descending. You can also define your own set of rules by using custom sort option. Now let's look at these examples in Microsoft Excel. So here we have a spreadsheet of employee ID, birth date, age, city name, department, job title, and gender. So now we need to sort this data according to whatever we prefer. So let's say I want the city name to be in ascending order. So I'll click on any of the cells in this column and go to the data ribbon and click on lowest to highest. So it will give me the names in ascending order alphabetically. Now if I want it to be in the reverse order, reverse alphabetical order, so I'll get that as well. Now if I want my city name to start from descending order, from reverse alphabetically, and also I want my birth date to start from the oldest to the newest. Now how would we do that? So we'll go to sort option here. So it will open a tab. So as we can see, it automatically selects the entire spreadsheet. Now in this, we can put a preference in the way we want. So our first preference is to make sure the city name is in reverse alphabetical order. So I'll put in sort by city name. We can choose any other, but we want city name. Sort on. Now you can choose cell color, font color, cell values, etc. But here I want cell values, so I'll click on here. Next, I want what type of order I want. So in this case, I want reverse alphabetical. So I'll go from Z to A, right? Next, I also want that my birth date should start from the oldest to the newest. Now I'll add a level, and then my second preference would be birth date. Again, we need to do it by cell values because I haven't created any other cell color or font color. So I'll go with cell values. Next, I'll do it newest to oldest or oldest to newest. I want oldest to newest. So I click on that and I'll press OK. So now the city name are in reverse alphabetical order, as we can see, and the birth date are from the oldest to the newest. So we can see that here as well, from starting from 1942 going ahead till the last section of 1994. So here, this is the use of sort function. Now, if I need to sort by different color sets, so let's take an example of that as well. So let's say I want my department to be color coded. So I'll put produce as, let's say, which color? Click on home ribbon. I'll choose yellow. Then I want the meats tab to be green. Next, I'll use the bakery as red. Now I'll go again, I'll click here. Now I'll go again to data and sort. Now I'll clear all of these. Now I'll add a level. My first preference here would be to code it by department name. Next, I have color coded it. So I'll click on cell color. Okay. Now Excel automatically detects what all color I have chosen. So I have created 3 colors, red, green, and yellow. So it shows all 3 of them here. Now I can click on any one of them that I want to be at the top. So I'll click on red on top, on bottom, I'll choose on top, then click OK. So the red color coded scheme gets on the top of my column. Next, if I want green to come up next. So what will I do? I'll go to the sort tab. Now I'll create my second preference. then by again department name, cell color. This time I'll choose green on top. Okay. So after red, my second preference is green. So on and so forth. I can do multiple color sets and sort accordingly. Next, we'll know about filter functions. So filter functions basically narrows down the way you want your specific data to be viewed. So let's say in this example, this is a movie set in which we have the title, year, genre, language, director, and average ratings if it has got. Now I only want to see, let's say, English movies, what all movies are in English. So now sorting it out by English would be one option, but to make it more easier, I'll click on this filter tab. So it will automatically create a drop down list in which we'll have different types of values that are stored in that particular column. Since we need only English, we'll unselect everything else and click on English and hit OK. Now we'll only get the movies that are in English language and nothing else. Similarly, if we want any other language, let's say French, so we'll unclick English, click on French and press OK. Now we'll only get French movies. So this makes our job little bit easier on what we next is data validation. So data validation is a very interesting tool which allows you to control what can or cannot be entered in your spreadsheet. So data validation is a very important tool when it comes to data handling process like collecting information. So let's say that you are rolling out a survey in which you want the user to fill only certain values in particular columns. So data validation allows you to do that. So let's see how do we manage data using data validation. Okay, so here we have Microsoft Excel. In this spreadsheet, we have a table in which we need to fill certain columns. So let's say the first one is name. So in this column, let's assume I only want the name should be a maximum of 20 characters long. So for that condition, I need to choose this range, click on data validation. So here the tabs appears. So in that settings tab, we need to fill the criteria that needs to be filled for the particular range. So I'll click on, since we need characters, so I'll choose text length, minimum character 1, maximum character, let's say 12, and say okay. Now let's check this out. Now if I type a word, let's say Madhur Singh, so it gets filled. Yash filled. But if I try to fill something that is large, let's say Abhishek Pal Sundar, click on enter. So now this says that the value does not match the data validation restrictions defined for this set. So since this name is more than 12 characters long, the input is invalid. So now we'll retry and we'll put something a little less. Let's say Abhishek, enter. Now it satisfies the condition. So in this way, we can set certain conditions for this column. Similarly, we can make a drop-down list for gender column. So in order to do that, I'll again go to data validation column, press data validation. Now I will put allow as a list. So now I need to select the source. So I can just write here, let's say male, comma, female, and then press OK. So I only selected one column. I did not select the range, but I could select the entire range and do that. But in this case, I can choose it's male or female. So it will automatically come here in whatever we choose. So there are only two things we can choose. We can't write anything here. That would be invalid. So in this way, we can choose list. Now comes, we can put whole numbers or decimal numbers in marks criteria. So we can set the range from what number to what number we want in that particular column. So let's do that as well. Let's see. Data validation, allow only whole number or decimal. So since marks can be in decimal like 10.5, 12.5, 50.5, so we'll choose decimal. In between, let's say 0 to 100. And then we'll press OK. So in this case, let's see. 1, enter 10, enter 55.5, enter. Everything is being taken by Excel. But if we choose anything beyond our range, let's say 115, so it gives me an error that this value does not match the data restrictions. So we'll retry and put 1.5, which satisfies. In this way, we can do it. But let's say if it's a survey and you're rolling out to the user, how would the user know what values can we fill? So the error message should be customized, right? So in that case, we can do a thing, let's say data validation. So this condition we set, so we can put here error alert. The title would be, let's say invalid input, and error message would be please input values between 0 and 100 and press OK. Now we go beyond our limit and press enter. So it would give us the error message that we customized. So our title was invalid input, and the description was please input values between 0 and 100. So in this way, the user can know that what values we need to feed, right? Or we can do one more thing. So we can just do again data validation, or we can just put an input message title. Let's say input message only values between 0 and 100 and press OK. So in this case, if I go here, so it will give me the input message that only values between 0 and 100 are allowed. So the user would beforehand know what values we need to feed before getting an error message. So in this way, we can do that. And we can also set, definitely we can set our data validation time. Also, we can set here date and time. So I'll set date between, let's say date of birth between 01 10 1998 to 01 12 2000 and press OK. So now they can do it in the same way. 01 12 1999, it will be OK, entered. So in the same way, we can do that. Now let's come to another most important concept. So what if we need to create a drop-down list for the subjects? So the number subjects are these: maths, English, physics, science, physics, Hindi, and biology. So if I need to make a list, what was our method? We used to write here maths, comma, English, comma, physics, comma, Hindi, comma, biology, right? So we click on OK. So then it used to come this, all the details that we can fill. Now let's say that the data set is quite big, that you can't manually put every single name with comma in between if you want to make a list. So in that case, we can put the source as another dataset link. So let's see how to do that. I'll just go back. I'll click on this. I'll select the range. Then I'll click on data validation. I'll allow it as list, the source. Now I can actually select the source. So I'll click on this. I'll select all these and press enter. So now the range is selected, and I'll click on OK. So I will automatically get what that secondary link that is generated. The data set from there will be retrieved here. So let's say physics, or we can set anything, maths. But it has a disadvantage. So in that case, you cannot delete your primary data set. So let's see if we delete, what happens. Let's say I delete physics. Okay. And now we see the drop down list. So now maths, English, blank, Hindi, biology. So it will remain blank over here. So that is why this is one of the drawbacks in which we can't delete a primary data source. Next is pivot tables. So what are pivot tables? Pivot tables are used to sort, count, group, total, or reorganize stored data in a table. So now you would ask me, what is the difference between a normal table and a pivot table? So pivot table can categorize rows and columns into different sections that you would need to do. Now, in case of a normal table, you cannot categorize into rows and columns. You can, but you would have to use sort and filter and then manually uncheck all the selected options and select the ones that you need. But in case of pivot table, it automatically summarizes your data in the way you want. So it helps change rows into columns and columns into rows, and also the pivot fields options, so you can group them and do advanced calculations like sum, average, maxima, minima, and different other things as well. So now we'll look at an example of how pivot tables help us. So let's go to Microsoft Excel. So now here we have a spreadsheet in which we have a data set. So this data set is about different products being sold. So in this case, we have a product line defined. So it is classic cars, motorcycles, and a lot of other things. So first of all, this is a type of data set that you would encounter when you do data analytics. So this is a classic example. So there would be a lot of columns that you would encounter and n number of rows. So in this case, let me check how many rows are there. It is close to 3000, 2800, close to 3000 rows. So this is the type of data you'll be dealing with. It can be much more, it can be 10,000 rows as well. But now let's talk about the point pivot tables. So here we have quantity mentioned, order number mentioned, price, sales, order date, month in which these were sold, different years in which these were sold, and the name of the customer, their contact details, address, state, county, territory, country, postal code, etc. So these are the things that are actually given to us. Now our purpose is to create a table in which we can find what are the different product lines that were sold in different months. So an example of what is our objective, I'll show you this type of pivot table. So in this case, we have the sales of different product lines in different months. So this is how a pivot table is. So we'll make it together going forward, but this is our objective of what we need to do. Different rows are mentioned in the column here, in the rows here, row headers, and different product line are mentioned in the column headers here. And the grand total is given in the last column, and one grand total is given in the row header. So what is this? Now in January, let's say classic cars were sold at 3,03,000, right? Now in this case, the grand total of January of all product lines is given here. Now the grand total of all the different months of all the product lines are given over here, right? So this is how a pivot table looks like. Now let's build one together. So this is again our raw data, and now we need to create a pivot table out of it. So we'll click on any cell in the spreadsheet and click on insert. Now when we click on insert, we have an option called pivot table. So we'll click on pivot table here. Dialog box open. Now in this case, we are asked certain questions. So select a table or range. Now Excel automatically detects your table. So as you can see in the data set, you would have a running line, right? Running box sort of thing here at the edges. So it automatically selects all the spreadsheet data set. Now it would ask me, where do I want the pivot table to be, whether it is a new worksheet or existing worksheet. Now if I, in case of new worksheet, it will add another sheet to this Excel file, and in existing worksheet, it will add it beyond the last column. So it will create a column on the right side beyond the last column. So in this case, we will select a new worksheet because it is convenient. So while clicking on new worksheet, now we'll get something like this. So it will be a column. It will ask to build a report. Choose the fields from the pivot table field list. Now pivot table fields is this dialog box. So we have the fields are basically the column headers. So in this case, our topmost line, the column headers are our fields. So we can choose whatever fields we want. Below it are 4 different columns. So the first column would tell us what filters do we need. So basically you can choose any filters that you want. You can drag all the columns that you need below. In this case it would be selected. Now for our objective, we need to find number one, the sales or in different months and of different product line. So let's say, so columns I can put any, rows also I can put any according to what I need. Now the value column could only support numerical values, so it only takes numerical values. So for example, we need sales, so this is the most clear option, so I'll just put sales over here. Now something appears over here, we'll see what it is. Now this is the sum of sales of everything, nothing is put on rows and columns, so it would not show anything. So let's say that I want my product line to be the column. Okay, let's say row. So it will come over on the row headers, the product line. So these are the total categories we have: classic cars, motorcycles, planes, ships, trains, trucks, vintage cars. So these are the categories of product line we have in total in the data set. Now if I need months, right, so I'll put it in columns. So now it will give me the sum of sales in January of classic cars, vintage cars, ships, and everything, and it is divided into months. Right now, I can do different thing. As we saw, our objective is we need to create it in rows should be our months and product line should be our columns. In our pivot table, we'll just switch it. So I'll put here, I'll interchange it. So now it becomes exactly the same that our objective was. So the sum is mentioned, everything is mentioned in here. So we can make it more worthy if we add the currency symbol, so it would be much more legible. Now let's take an example of how we are going to do it. Now if we would look closely, it gives me months and total sales. Okay, so let's go back in our data set and look at some details. So in this case, we have different months, different categories of product line, and different sales, right? But now if we look closely, there is an year ID as well. So now we have different years, like 2003 I can see, 4 and 5 I can see. So in this case, while we made pivot table, so our January would consist of 3 years combined together. That would be 2003, 4 and 5. So in order to distinguish in terms of years, we'll just remove our month ID and we'll put an year ID. So now we know in 2003, 4 and 5 how many cars was, what was the worth of cars that was sold, and the grand total of the cars sold in all the different product lines, and also in total different years, 2003, 4 and 5. Now let's say I want to know that in the January of 2003 how many cars were sold, right? So in that case, what we need to do, we need to put month ID below the row ID. Now it would distinguish first on the basis of year. So as we can see, first on the basis of year, then it will distinguish, it will give me a list of, okay, January to it is not in order, but we can put it in order, that's not an issue. But in January, how many cars were sold? So this data would not be available, so it is just empty. But the data that is available in the data set, it will put it here and make the grand total of it. Now similarly in case of 2004 and 2005. Now let's just say that I don't need the sales, I want the quantity, how many were sold in particular months and years of the different product lines. So in this case, I'll go again to the pivot table fields and unselect or drag the sum of sales back to the field option and click on the quantity ordered in values. Since for the sum of sales we clicked on the dollar symbol, now we need to unclick it. So I'll go to the home ribbon, and in case of currency, I'll put general, no specific format. So it will give me the quantity of different things sold in different months of different years. So in this way, I'll get the quantity. So many more things we can do when it comes to the use of pivot tables. So this was one of the examples. Third and the final phase of your data analytics journey is data visualization. Now, considering your data analysis is done and you are fit to represent your data to your internal and external stakeholders. Now, internal stakeholders are someone, it can be your boss, your senior managers, the top brass of your company. And external stakeholders are your clients for whom this project has been allotted. Now, considering the time constraints they might have in their day to day work, they cannot go through your data sets one by one. So, in order to make them understand more quickly and in a more efficient manner, we will use pictorial representations. Now, these representations can be charts, right? It can be pie chart, it can be bar chart, line chart, and different scatter plots, and even some advanced charts like map charts and tree charts. So, considering all these scenarios, now it becomes your responsibility to make sure all your analysis is pictorially represented. So, let's move on to data visualization. The first chart that we will be talking about is a pie chart. Now, pie chart represents part to whole relationship. So, since it's a very basic type of chart in Excel, we'll learn about it with an example. So, let's say you have three friends and all of them have apples, right? So, you have the maximum amount of apples, that is four. The other three have three apples, two apples, and one apple, respectively. Now, in order to represent this data pictorially, what you would do, you would make a pie chart, right? So all your three friends and including you will be represented on this pie chart. Now, since you have the maximum amount of apples, that is four, you would get the maximum chunk. So this area would be yours with four apples. Your friend would get, the one with three apples will get a slightly lesser chunk, three apples. The one with two apples will get slightly smaller slice, and the one with one apple will get the smallest slice. So this is how a pie chart is represented based on the value in the data set. The more the value, the bigger the slice, or the bigger the percentage of that particular slice. So it has three major components, pie chart. The one is area, the second one is central angle, and the third one is arc length. So Excel does it automatically, but let's take an example. Let's just look at what this is. So area would be this chunk here. Central angle is the angle it makes from the center, and the arc length is the circumference of that particular slice. So these are the three major components of a pie chart, but Excel does it itself. So you just need to feed values and Excel will make a pie chart for you. The second chart that is the most important and most widely used is a bar chart. Now, bar chart uses bands of different heights to show different amounts so that they can be distinguished. So as you can see, one side, the y-axis here, has values, numerical values in it, and x-axis has basically the categories in which it is divided. So this is represented in x-axis. You can do vice versa also. Then it will be a horizontal bar graph. This is a vertical bar graph. So you can compare different like months or different categories of food items or any number of things. So this is generally used in areas where you want to find how much difference is there between two categories. So this is the most effective one there. The third one is line chart. Now line chart shows the changes over a certain amount of time. So it connects one section to the other section. In case of bar graphs, there was no interconnection between these things, but in a line chart you can see in January to February you have a line drawn over here. So this gradient shows what is the difference between the 2 months, right? So this is how line chart operates. So each categories are along horizontal and the value is over vertical. So this is the most favored method to do, because otherwise if you do vice versa in line chart, it would not make sense, right? So it is also preferred when one parameter is non-numeric, which is the horizontal one, and the other one is numeric, the vertical one. Right, now let's look at these examples in Excel. Now let's look at the example of these charts using these tables So this table, I used it during the H lookup session, so I'll use it again. So here we have office supplies, product ID, quantity, and price mentioned. So in order to make pie and bar charts, let's select the range of price and office supplies. Then click on insert. And then as you can see under charts here, we have different types of chart. We have pivot charts, we have map charts, and all these types of charts that are represented here. So I'll choose pie chart. So I'll click on pie chart. Then it gives me an option to choose either 2D pie, 3D pie, or donut. So in this one, I'll choose 2D pie chart. So I'll click on that. Now selects, it highlights me the different range that we selected and automatically mentions it over here. Now in this case, I cannot see the percentage in which it is divided, right? In order to do that, I'll go on chart styles, right? I'll click on the downward arrow and choose whichever one I want. Okay, so I see that this one here is clear. Okay, so I'll choose this one, right? So now I get percentage, I get the different categories in which it is divided, and I get the name. Now, as we can see, this is not the name of the chart, right? So I can double click and change to pie chart or something, or pie chart prices, something like that. So I can change it to whatever I want. And so this is how it is represented. Now coming on to next chart, that is bar chart. So I'll just delete it. I'll click again on this, the same thing. I'll select both the ranges that we selected earlier, then click on insert. And here the first section is insert bar chart. So I'll click on the downward arrow. Now again, it gives me different options. I can get 3D effect. I can get horizontal. This is what I mentioned. You can use horizontal bar charts as well, or vertical bar charts. So 3D horizontal, 3D vertical. I think vertical looks much more clear to understand. So I'll use 2D. I click here. So now I again get this chart, and since it is not mentioned any percentage, or it's quite clear 500 here. But if I want to change certain things, I can again go to chart styles. I can change how visually they appear and different. See, this is the quantities are, the price is mentioned in the bar itself. So I can choose whatever. This one looks pretty good. I'll choose this one. So now I can see that it is clearly mentioned everything. I'll change it to probably price bar chart, something like this. But as you can see, there are no mentions of what is in y-axis and what is in x-axis. So it is not mentioned. Okay, I want to put something here. Axis, on the axis, I want to put a category or something like that. So how to do that? So we click on the left side here, add chart elements. So I'll click on that, axis titles. So now I can have a horizontal axis title. I can have a vertical axis title, right? So we have all learned in our junior classes that the axis titles are an important one. So I'll write here price. I'll write here category. So in this way, we can make bar charts. So in order to make a pivot chart, let's take an example. So for pivot charts, this is a data set that we analyzed before. So I'll use the same data set. So we made this kind of pivot table over here, right? So I'll use this in order to make a line chart. And this will also give you an example of what pivot charts are. So making a chart from pivot table is called a pivot chart. So let's see how this works. So it's basically basic charts, but in pivot table. I want different months to be represented via line chart in a pivot table. So I'll go to again insert. Then so since we are already in pivot chart, we would not click on pivot chart, but we can use different charting patterns. So since I want line chart, I'll use 2D, 3D. Area does not look very distinctive. So I'll use 2D line. Okay, so here also, as you can see, if I hover over this one, it says stacked line. So it shows me the sum of sales and the months, right? If I click on this, it also shows me the sum of sales, but with a different y-axis. So the values are different. The various bars in which it divides is different. So in case of percentage also I can get. So in this case, you have different percentages mentioned. So I can click on any one of them. I'll click on this one. Now let's say I only selected this range, but it gave me all range. So in pivot chart, it gives you all range. You can actually filter it from this filter option here. So if I uncheck all and I only click motorcycles and click OK, so it will only give me the data of motorcycles in every month and its values, right? And here also the pivot chart also only summarizes it into motorcycles and months. So this is very good here in which we can do it. You can actually change the month also. If you want to see a particular month, we can do that as well. So this is how a line chart and a pivot chart works. Next, we'll look into two of the more advanced charts that are not commonly used in our analysis but are a must to know. So the first one is tree chart or tree map, as we say. So it provides a hierarchical view of data. So just as the example shown in the picture, so we can see this is an example of tree map, and here we have different countries and some value in which they are arranged. Okay, this value I would know because it is the data set which I am using, but this tree maps are not used to depict the exact data that is in the data set. So if you just want to know, okay, which proportion is maximum to which within the hierarchy, so this would tell us that. So the first one is India. So India has the maximum amount of value in a particular cell. That's why it has the maximum area. Second is Saudi Arabia, then Russia, Germany, Australia, China, and America and Spain. So the ones with bigger values are towards the left side of the map, and the ones with are less value are towards the right side. So that is why it gives a good comparing proportions within the hierarchy. The second chart is called map chart. So it is used to navigate values and shows categories across different geographical regions. So in this case, we will use only the names of countries to represent any data set. So the countries will be highlighted according to the values. So this is most commonly used by, let's say, World Bank or United Nations categories to represent the data across the globe. Right. So, and also some of the companies who are involved in logistical supplies, imports, exports, use these kinds of maps to represent data. Let's look at the examples in Excel. So here we have a spreadsheet in which there are different the countries and GDP per capita are mentioned here. So in order to create tree maps or a map chart, let's select the columns and then click again on insert. And here we have the first one here. It represents hierarchical chart. So this is a tree map. So we'll click on tree map. Now it automatically extracts the values from the range we have selected and makes a tree map out of it. Now in this case, we can change the layout according to our wish. So I can choose any one of the ones in chart styles. So as we can see, the ones with the greater value, Qatar and US, are towards the left side, while the ones which are quite small are towards the right side, right? Okay. So I choose this. Okay, I can make changes from this plus sign here if I want to see something, if I don't want to see something, or if I want to change the layout, how it is, styling here also you can change it, and color also if you want the scales to be of a different color, multicolor. How do you want to change it? It's upon you. So you can do all these things using this. Now coming to the second type of chart, that is the map chart. So we'll undo whatever we did. Okay, again we'll select the data set, then we'll click on insert, and towards the middle of the charts we have a thing called maps. So if I click on this filled map, so it will generate the countries and their values according to how much it is there. So we can see in this case all the countries which are mentioned are in the map, right? So we can change the layout again from charting styles. We can create whatever we desire, and also we can change the way it is there. So wait, if you double click on the chart, you will get format plot area. So you can actually change the fill, how it is filled. You can put a solid gradient fill or pattern fill. So in case I want the countries which are not selected here, I can actually make them the way I want. So, okay, it is not represented in this, but in this case, I can do it. Pattern fill. Yeah. I can change the way it is. So the ones which are not selected will get changed. So so it is clear for us to know which one of them is selected, right? This was all about map charts.
Here's a quick summary of what we covered. We started with an introduction to statistics, understanding its definition, importance, and different types of statistical analysis. From there, we explored Excel as a versatile tool for data handling, covering foundational topics like cell referencing, formulas, functions, and working with data tables. Next, we moved on to Excel's advanced features, including conditional formatting, pivot tables, and data visualization techniques, helping you present data-driven insights effectively. We also discussed essential practical skills such as data cleaning, validation, and understanding the phases of an analytics project. By the end, we learned the tools and techniques required to confidently approach real-world data challenges using Excel. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more insights into statistics, Excel, and data analysis. See you in the next video.